Hello, amigos and amigas. Our names are host Rachel and Eric, non-respectively. If it had been respectively, it would have been the other way around. Today we're discussing Discordianism versus Meta-Rationalism. Well, those are some fancy words, Eric, you might say.
Yes.
Yes, they are. Fancy words. Fancy, important words. What is that all about? Well, I was reading about Discordianism today. First of all, Discordianism is responsible for the Illuminati. What do I mean by that? The Illuminati is a Discordian prank or hoax. And Discordians are people who are a lot like the NTPs in this community, perhaps, except they went a certain direction, you know? So it's like you can go, when you sort of understand the nature of meta-rationalism, which is to say that no singular frame is really going to be predominant. Egocentric's a fancy word? It's not that fancy. Wait, hold on. You aren't accusing me of being egocentric, are you? Anyway, Discordianism, they were basically very smart guys who played around with the idea of basically a post-rational relativism that produced this embrace of meaning chaos. So I will explain what I mean a bit. Okay. It's what you would call a well, let me share this here, like so. So you'll see that the philosophy of Discordianism has three core principles. It says basically that ideas about reality are mistakenly labeled reality, and unenlightened people are forever perplexed by the fact that other people, especially other cultures, see reality differently. So this is basically the engine of relativism, okay? That, in fact, it's just our frames that cause us to prioritize certain aspects of reality as more important than others, and there's not actually any preference to a certain way to frame things. It is only ideas about which differ. Real, capital T, true reality is a level deeper than is the level of concept. We look at the world through windows on which have been drawn grids, concepts. Different philosophies use different grids. A culture is a group of people with rather similar grids. Through a window, we view chaos and relate it to points on our grid, and thereby understand the order is in the grid, not in the reality. Okay, that's what they're saying. In other words, order is a function of map, not territory. Well, that's simply bullshit. Okay, I'm sorry, it just is. There is, in fact, order in the world that is being mapped, and the idea that somehow conceptual stuff is less real than that which it maps is incorrect and absurd. The other thing is the notion that it says Western philosophy is traditionally concerned with contrasting one grid versus another with and omitting grids in hopes of finding a perfect one that will account for all reality and will hence say, unlike the Westerns, be true. This is illusory. Okay, well, but see, they caught on the fact that that is a misconception, that you can get a single perfect grid that accounts for everything, but that's where meta-rationalism provides an alternative other than the one they present here. This says it's illusory to think that there is basically some more truth or less truth in certain grids, but that's bullshit because, of course, you can't change the fact that grids are applied contextually in ways that are more or less appropriate to certain aspects of reality. So what might be an appropriate grid in one context might be an inappropriate grid in another, and there's no accounting for that reality here. They would say that's just another grid, but I would point out that if just another grid is sufficient to render something unworthy as an argument, then they can get rid of all of their garbage as well. And then some more useful, more beautiful, some more pleasant, but none can be more true than any other. That is absolutely not the case, because you need to distinguish between validity and truth. Yes, truth is not a universal, but it doesn't make it less existential. You know, it's a weird wrongness the Discordians have in their notions about things. Anyway, they're the ones responsible for the Illuminati bullshit. They thought that would be a funny joke to play, right? Mm-hmm. To go around and create basically a narrative footprint, because they're all about they are gray or even potentially black wizards of the same sort that I am a wizard of, and that a lot of people around here are, namely meaning smithing, right? But it comes with a responsibility towards that is drawn from a fundamental moral absolutism. If you are basically relativist, like these people are, then you become wicked. And you start spreading bullshit that ends up causing me problems decades later, right? People come in here and start talking about the Illuminati. That is a meta joke bit of meaning smithing that proves the basic principle of meaning smithing that I articulate in my novel, Gospel of Pantheon.
I'm so glad that, I'm gonna, I found it in the books. So now I'm gonna read it. These parts of it. Definitely flip through for sure.
Yeah, you may or may not like it. I don't know. It's what it is.
Well, I liked what you had on the YouTube, videos, so.
Now, I will say one thing that I was thinking yesterday, based on some stuff I read by Kierkegaard, is that the people that I feel most hatery towards are actually the people that I admire most. I feel a little bit hatery towards this guy. The guy who wrote this Meaningless website. David Chapman. Alright? So I feel kind of hatery towards him, which means I actually respect him quite a bit. Probably. I think, the more hatery, the more unwilling your respect. But I'm not that hatery. I respect what he does, and I try to make notes of what I try to be a little bit less adversarial in my thinking toward than I am inclined to be. So he talks about, I like, it's like, this is a great webpage. He's so much, you can totally see how much like me this guy is across the board. Even with the use of tables and stuff, Stance, summary, Eternalism. He loves classifying shit like this, and he does it well. He's smart, Everything is given a fixed meaning by an eternal ordering principle. Nothing is really meaningful. Meaning is nebulous, yet pattern, meaningfulness, and meaninglessness intermingle. Now, I don't agree with everything this guy says at all. In fact, I think he's a little bit smushy in a lot of ways. But he tries to be at least thorough in his taxonomy, I guess you'd say. But like this, it's easy to get lost in this webpage, right? And there's not a lot of concretery that you can deal with. Stance, emotional appeal, eternalism, certainty, understanding, control, reassurance that if you act in accordance with cosmic plan, everything will be well. Cosmic plan. Cosmic plan refer to any idea of an ultimate source of meaning, such as God, the absolute destiny, reason, highest consciousness, or whatever. All such ideas are inherently eternalistic. Eternalistic is a stance that sees the meaning of everything as fixed by an external principle, such as God or cosmic plan. It forms a false dichotomy with nihilism, which regards everything as meaningless. The stance of meaninglessness meaningness, recognize the fluid mixture of meaningfulness and meaninglessness and everything. Right, so of course, this notion of cosmic plan that he's talking about is specifically a cosmic plan as understood by people who don't have a meta-rational cosmic plan. Okay, so in other words, if like me, you have a general appeal to a good that's loosely defined and understood through multiple metrics itself, then I guess that he wouldn't consider that to be a cosmic plan because it wouldn't be conscribing in the same fashion. Anyway, originally, memes like the Illuminati, a group that did exist historically in Bavaria, seem to have been created to misdirect people from real sources of wealth, finance, manipulation in the world. I mean, that's not the case with the Discordians. They wouldn't have believed any of that bullshit. They would have said, we are somehow intellectual merry pranksters who are taking advantage of people's gullibility without understanding why it exists. And this is the problem with the Discordians and with even with that meta-rationalist guy, David Chapman, and with Kierkegaard even, and with this other lady I was reading about regarding haters and stuff. They all interpret it through some given frame, and what seems so abundantly obvious to me is the need in each of those instances for the person to have access to a cognitive function frame, because that's the only way they're going to understand that you can't really talk about these things without linking back to the different ways that people pay attention. So if I'm talking about, well, let me bring up an example here. Life Synchronic says, from reading RAW, the Illuminati was basically groups of people practicing sex magic. I'm not sure what the original Illuminati that actually existed was, but the idea of a secret organization called the Illuminati.
They say that Jay-Z and Beyonce are part of the Illuminati.
Okay, well, Life Synchronic, if that's the case, to use clever methods of waking them up from it, then they were not very clever at all, were they? It totally backfired on them, didn't it? So, I think my interpretation probably has more support than the data. Hi, Dad. Yeah, Monday, Monday. Yeah, it's probably about that here. Okay, will do. Okay, will do. Nope, just finished working. Cool. Okay, thanks, Dad. Bye. Thank you for saying that I have a sick title. I appreciate that. A close examination of any secret society reveals certain preoccupation with various forms of sex magic. Well, I mean, okay. let me answer the question: what's meta-rationalism? So, if you apply rationalism to its bitter end, you get to one of a couple of places: Discordianism or nihilism. And the alternative to nihilism is incorporating at least. See, it's funny, Winston's mom. It's I just read about these Discordians today. Okay, I just read about them today for the first time. And you say that a Discordian is prohibited from believing what he reads. Let me pull something up here. So you see, it's like, this is why I'm saying it's important for meta-rationals, those of us who didn't ultimately end up Discordians, to reject it. I am a reformed Discordian, as I will reveal shortly. That's astonishing to see that it says that. But let's see. Don't have it up here. I must have it back here. Okay, so let me pull this up now. Back here. Where's the rest of it? I don't want the paperback. I want the PDF. Why don't I have the fucking PDF anywhere? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, I better know where I can find it. Finally. So, I'm going to read the epilogue, which is the last page of this, if you, not really any huge spoiler or anything. Lazinky Plum came over and gave me a big hug, and so did Curtis, and I hugged them each in return and said, I'm sorry, about 50 times. Finally, the chaotic post-debate chattering that filled the hall leveled off, and though the room was still loud, when Curtis addressed it, everyone heard him no problem. There's a boy who's been waiting outside, and he has some big news. Perhaps someone should let him know now. So, an initiate in the back, after checking with the sibling to make sure it was okay, unbarred the door. Bon and Ono came in. Ono handed Bon the slip of paper and encouraged the boy to stand at the podium and tell everyone what had happened. And when Bon had finished his story, he read the slip of paper, and everyone had a good laugh. And I bet you know what would it said on that slip. Well, on the paper was written the one static truth about which even Curtis himself has the utmost conviction: never believe anything you read. So, the thing is, the Discordians upset me because I recognize in them the same misguided directionality that once consumed me, that in fact belief was ultimately belief is Satan's favorite tool was a notion I had for bumper sticker, right? But that's a wrong perspective, and they're trying to subsume magical within just a frame of meaning smithing, namely turning it entirely into a territory crafting thing, subsuming the importance of the territory underneath the importance of so-called reality, and failing to draw a meaningful distinction between the two. So, can you blame me for just wanting to middle finger the Discordians? No. Especially when I incur their consequences. I incur the consequences of people coming in here and they believe in shit like the Illuminati, when it's somebody like me without a clear moral directionality fucking with everybody. That's what it boils down to.
Thank you, Winston's mom. I wanted to thank you, Running Fox. I wanted to glam it up a little bit for the stream. I can't lie. For you guys, for Eric, and for myself mostly.
I'm gonna get myself a cup of coffee too.
Cool.
Oh no! I have to get a cup from inside.
The oh no is because we're using the mug that we have as a stand. How's everyone doing? I feel I don't get much time one-on-one with you guys. That's a lie. I talk to you guys a lot, actually. How can I video chat with Eric if I wanted to? Whereby? Whereby is the place that you can chat with Eric. It should be in the box below. TWFP 2 is the room. Are you making dinner? How's it going for you, Ronnie Fox? For me, when I make food, like dinner or dessert, it comes out great, but I make a mess. So I don't do it, it's something that, I want my own kitchen because I know how messy I can be. So it makes me a little shy to do it, really, because I don't want to make a mess. Circular thinking.
What's known as a shy cooker.
I am. That's funny, Ronnie Fox. Oh, ramen. Have you... Okay, so I love ramen. Ramen is delicious, especially, like, if you get it from a Thai place or Korean, Japanese. The ramen, Chinese too, so good. Like, that's something that actually I would like to make and to learn the soup of, because I love ramen. There's a good movie with Brittany Murphy, and it's called The Ramen Girl. She, has a tough... She's an American in China, working and living in China. And she meets some nice people, and they're like, okay, we want to help you out, so we'll give you a job, but you have to learn how to cook. So they have her cook ramen, and she, goes along like that, like how she was crying one time because she was in a sad mood and it affected the food. So it's a very FI film in my mind, but it is very interesting the way that ramen is made. They really do take their ramen seriously in China. It is like spaghetti. Oh, you like spaghetti. I like spaghetti too.
In China, if you make ramen wrong, it's a 10-year prison.
Probably.
I think it's Japan, really, where they take ramen even.
Yes, I know that she got murdered. Please, I don't want to talk about... I'm sorry. I don't mean to be... Because sometimes I know I'm the person who brings up the bad news. But yeah, I know that she was... murdered, sadly. It's really sad. She was a good actress. I thought
Brittany Murphy was murdered? That's not what I read.
Well, it was her... It was Bad News Bears. She was married to this guy who was basically just, like, feeding her drugs. So, it was like she OD'd.
It's not probably wouldn't qualify as murder unless...
It's not murder.
Unless it was really...
It's not. It was an accident, but still, like, he was... It's like, when Britney Spears was with that guy, Alex, what's his name, who's really, like, scumbag, everyone knew?
Yeah.
That was Brittany Murphy's husband.
What's up with chicks and their bad decisions?
I don't know, man.
I guess who am I to talk, right? Who am I to talk?
I mean, I love you, so that's pretty good.
I am a little not that open to unofficial facts.
That's not true.
But I mean, it's true. I'm less open to unofficial facts than you are.
Yes, this is true because you're SI.
Well, it's because I'm TI more.
Oh.
More TI, less than I.
True, that is.
Here's the thing. I am open to some of those things, and I'm curious about a lot of those things. So Rachel and I were reading about, for example, that missing Malaysian plane.
Yeah.
Now, they've claimed they've found a couple of pieces of it that they can definitively identify as that part of that plane, but so little of it that, as far as I'm concerned, you can kind of toss that evidence out the window and go, as far as anybody's concerned, it just disappeared. And they never found any of it, frankly. I don't know how much to believe the idea that these couple of pieces that washed ashore months later could be definitively identified as part of that plane. I mean, what kind of part of the plane is going to float that also is going to withstand those elements for that long and still have defining characteristics about it to identify as specifically part of that plane? Right. That seems unlikely to me.
I remember, but we both remember hearing news stories about them finding parts of it.
Months later.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. It wasn't months later for me because it disappeared in 83, but it was a continuing story because
No, you're thinking about a different one. 83. We're talking about the one that just happened a couple years ago.
Oh, 13?
The one that, 2013 was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't find Lawnmower exhausting. Lawnmower, did you watch my Bible verse video? I wanted to make sure that it was part of the reason, I guess, for making it, was that I wanted to make sure people around here understood that I'm not unwilling to engage seriously with those ideas and that text.
Can I just say that spaghetti is the Italian potato? Like, literally, yeah. Like,
Can I just say, Running Fox, that's such bullshit. I have lots of arguments with Lawnmower. Lawnmower and I do not always see eye to eye.
no. It's true.
I am not an e-girl. I do not have my... It means like somebody who's got their pictures up on OnlyFans.
Oh my god, what the... What the fudgery, man. What the fudge. I like spaghetti. I like making thick, like, gravy for it, and I like making monagot and, like, raviolis. But it really is like the Italian potato, because when Italians came over from the East, they had large families but not a lot of money. So, pasta for dinner.
Raphael, I am working on showing off my small words more, okay? But I failed utterly in this title.
Spaghetti's a good dinner. You know, honestly, you boil the water, you put it in, you wait for the minute that it's ready, you see if it's al dente or not, and
I mean, sometimes a fox and sometimes a lion. The whole secret of government lies in knowing when to be the one or the other. It's a good quote. The thing is, you know, I really think that on the issue of belief, that it's not meaningfully understood. And both the Discordians and the Meta-Rationalists are both basically talking about this issue of belief. How do you deal with belief? If you apply a strictly rationalist framework, then you still need to distinguish what kind of rationalism you're going to prioritize. Is it sustainability argumentationally, or is it sustainability empirically? And those are different criteria right there. And so, of course, the thing is, without understanding, like, without drawing some sort of distinction between those two kinds of criteria for what's comprised as logical, and additionally, without drawing a distinction between, well, I mean, if you're just focusing on the TI kind of logic, then it results in nihilism, which is to say, you end up becoming entirely relativistic. And if you have what that meaningless guy calls a cosmic story or something, that means basically you have totalized some specific frame so that it becomes the frame through which you interpret everything. Now, some people might accuse me of totalizing the cognitive function frame. I would say that's an excellent frame to totalize, because it doesn't provide you conclusions about things. It provides you explanations to understand people, which is much more, I think, tied to reality than is a bunch of abstractions that are increasingly divorced from people.
I have a question for everyone. Who is your favorite American rock band? American
rock band.
Mm-hmm. And it can be, you know, alt rock, classic rock, country rock, I'll take too. It has to be rock, though. They have to have, like, rock and roll in their vibe. I'm not talking Sade. She's not a band, but you know what I'm saying.
Got
Disturbed, that would be.
I've got a couple.
Radiohead is like half American, but no, they're not. They're English. Hughes in the News, okay.
That qualifies.
Yeah, that does qualify.
I was gonna say
no.
Probably,
Led Zeppelin is, and the Monkees don't count when
those
they're both British.
I don't know about King Crimson.
I don't know about King Crimson either.
I'm gonna say either Cake. You're so lying.
I know.
Not your favorite.
He had to.
That's Australian anyway. That's not even.
Really?
Yeah, that's not.
Great.
That's not American.
March says
the Eagles Strokes would be an American.
Yes,
rock band,
yeah, the
for
Eagles
sure.
are American.
Not a bad choice.
Yeah, no.
I'm thinking about Cake, possibly.
Nice. I like that.
As far as a band that I can listen to, like a lot of their stuff. Also, They Might Be Giants is another good American
Cool.
rock band.
That's a good. Those are two good American bands. Mine is LCD Sound System.
LCD Sound System.
Yeah. It used to be the Talking Heads, but I consistently like LCD Sound System songs more than I consistently like Talking Head songs.
But I'm gonna have to object to your answer, Rachel. I don't think LCD Sound System counts as a rock band.
Okay, so then
I think they count as basically an electronic
rave
act of some sort, like rave music, dance music.
Well, what about Talking Heads?
Talking Heads is a rock band.
Okay, so then Talking Heads would be my favorite rock band.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's like Cake's good, but there's one that comes to mind, but I don't really listen to bands anymore, so it's not really fair to newer bands that I don't really listen to albums.
It doesn't have to be. But that's the thing. It doesn't have to be new. I mean, the Eagles aren't new.
Right, no, I know, but I'm just saying there's probably some additional things. Beastie Boys, I would call a hip-hop band.
They're hip-hop, yeah. Aerosmith counts, yes. Aerosmith counts. That's rock. It's pop rock, but it counts.
Eric's Type Police Intro is not a band. But thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I would also say I like the Beach Boys too. I have a soft spot for the Beach Boys. So those are my two American bands.
I mean, I might even think. Wait, the other bands that come to mind are AC/DC, Green Day.
I don't think AC/DC. Oh, AC/DC is American, right?
Oh no, you're right. They're Australian.
Yeah,
My bad. My bad.
It's hard, like thinking about it.
A lot of bands aren't American.
Yep. That's why I like to use it, because you don't hear it very often, and you really have to think about it.
I actually like Green Day quite a bit. I think they've got a lot of good stuff.
That's a good one.
I mean, it's like if you're gonna pick an ENFJ band, you wouldn't go too wrong with Green Day.
Hell no. I love Green Day. Green Day ruled my tweens, a little bit of it too.
I mean, your gleans.
And my college years.
I mean, look, I actually am rather fond of Green Day. I agree that they probably only had a couple of good albums, but they additionally had a bunch of good singles after that.
Off those albums, that counts as being a good band.
Other good bands like Spoon. Spoon's an American band.
Spoon's up there for me too.
Spoon's really good.
Yeah.
Although I haven't listened to a lot of their albums.
But still, every time I introduce you to one of them, you like it. So.
Yeah. I mean, somebody new that I like a lot is Tessa Violet.
She's
a few
great.
of her songs came on today when we were listening. I was working on listening to music, or we were listening to music, and she's really good.
Yeah.
Email Anthrax, you do not like Nickelback. You're totally lying.
Oh my god. Look at this graph.
An INFJ and an INFP decide to get acrylic paints and have a painting night, both with virtually no prior experience with painting. How might they approach this scenario differently?
Oh my gosh, does that not sound like my kimchi story?
I mean, well, the answer is the INFP will start randomly applying paint to whatever thing that they're painting on. They might not use a canvas. They might decide to paint. Ooh, I'm going to paint this piece of sheet metal I found over here instead. The INFJ will probably begin with a concept and try to render it.
Might even use YouTube.
Everybody's favorite question. Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins is rock. They have a couple of good songs, but
Couple.
Yeah, I also really dislike the lead singer. Not that should impact it at all, but How does an INTP combat one's innate laziness, lack of motivation to do? You know,
I'm just giving you
I've heard that question so many times. I've yet to have a good answer for it. I don't know how to help an INTP get around their SE polar without referring them to engaging other people. It's the case that INTPs are least likely to avoid doing shit when they have a social consequence. So if you know that you're going to have people waiting and you're not going to have the thing done that you're supposed to give them, then that will cause you to finish it. Evelyn Evelyn says the same thing. She says, Luke, have people depend on you. She said, see, this is demonstrative NI versus NE Dom, right? I gave a very long way of saying what Evelyn just said. Have people depend on you. What's a bit disturbing?
I'm into dream interpretations in black. My dreams do not come true, though. I do not have dreams. I'm lucky in that way. I feel I'm lucky in that way. I've had premonitions for other people. I told you I had a premonition about Jimmy Fallon. And yeah, that came true. I had a premonition about my dad dying, and I told him right away. I've had lucid dreaming before.
Just put the link here, Raphael. I'll add you temporarily as a moderator.
And I have most frequently dreams about, if I'm in a panic state, I'll dream about the person that, like, I'm in a panic state about.
She had some premonition about Jimmy Fallon's family or something like that.
Yeah, so...
I don't remember exactly.
Can I tell it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So Jimmy Fallon, for a while, was known to be in New York doing the live show and kind of binging after the shows with cocaine and alcohol. So he was showing up, like, disheveled for shows, and, like, just, like, people were worried about him. He was becoming, like, manic, kind of. So one day I had a dream about him, and it was me watching him play video games with his niece and nephew, and, like, having a great time. And, like, that was almost like, I was like, yeah, Jimmy Fallon, yeah, you're having fun. And, like, 2 or 3 months later, there was a report, I saw a show that said that he, was spending time with family and playing video games and having a good time. So I was like, yay! He's, like, back on the train, you know what I mean? You know, he's back.
So...
That's interesting, Salem Black.
What I would say is, it's important to remember the fact that both it's like we think about taking given kinds of narrative actions as being in non-actions in some sense, because it's the alternative to doing something is to say something, right? But but saying things does take action on a metaphysical plane, on the map plane, and because territory is infinitely high resolution, the map can always have increasing degrees of representational complexity, usually with diminishing returns, but sometimes not so. Like, what that means is it's always possible to explain why something happens, and not all explanations are of equal value, I guess. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go?
No, you go.
I was just gonna answer Zaylen Black, that I approach it from a psychological way too. Especially when it's about myself, like, if it was a disturbing, I say movie, if it was a disturbing dream and I remembered it, I would always tell my parents. I would always be like, even if they didn't want to hear it, I was like, I had this bad, weird dream where, like, snakes were, like, in a car with me, and then I went into a house. I thought I was safe there, and there were snakes all over. And then I look up the meaning of it, you know, and I tell the world about my dream.
I'm rooting for Robert too. I'm not sure who he is, but he's got my vote.
He's got my vote as well.
Let's see here. Raphael, it's natural to take everything into consideration, consider what is next. I often know what is next. I can be wrong, usually by the timing of something, never the wrongness. I mean, I think certain systems are more responsive to NI attention than others. The more, the more diversified the vectors in a system, the less subject it is to NI. So with enough variance in a system, NI ceases to be meaningfully able to predict things. But it's also the case that with enough variables in the system, TI and TE become meaningfully unable to predict things. And there may be a area there before both become entirely unable to meaningfully predict things where NI has the advantage again. It's like NI has the advantage with holistic systems, and it may again have the advantage with non-holistic systems that are very complex, but that are not quite chaotic. I'm not sure. Just a hypothesis.
That's funny, Zaylen Black. And that's great that you use an internal locus as your dream interpretation. I usually know that if it's bad dream, that I'm stressed. 'Cause
those are very SI questions, Zaylen Black. SI and FI, I guess. I ask myself, what do snakes mean to me? Have I watched anything that influenced that dream and so forth? In other words, what's my FI say about it, I guess? And then, do I have any SI relevant data? Snakes mean penis, Zaylen. Everybody knows this. That's the NI truth.
Oh no!
No, that's
what
the
a
truth,
dream I had!
Snakes mean penis.
Oh my gosh, I was scared by a lot of penises. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it makes a lot. Yeah, I would be.
That was your subconscious warning you.
Yeah, thank you.
The men who would want to touch your body.
Ew, we don't like that.
If I dream of tornadoes or driving off the road, I know I'm stressed. I almost always dream about something that I was thinking about or had done that day. I have strange, dreams about. Seems like in my dreams I'm always going someplace and there's a bunch of little things that occur. It's like my dreams are never really about anything in a large sense. It's just a bunch of random little things that occur. Like
a cartoon strip?
I mean, I don't know. Usually I'm trying to get somewhere or do something that I don't really remember where I'm trying to go or why, and I did you put that link in yet, Raphael, or what? No, to most, snakes in dreams represent penis. Just ask Freud. Freud knows best. To either represent depression and saving your life. So for you, a male penis represents depression and saving your life.
I want to say that with NI, it's like...
Okay, Raphael, jeez.
It's like, NI people can know, but there's free will. So it's like NI people, just as much as they know stuff, they can be wrong too. It stings because it could be But one thing that I learned was to apologize when I was wrong. That was a big one, because it's not bad being wrong, you know? You just make a mistake.
Stings like a butterfly, floats like a bee. That way it's totally harmless, you see. If it just stings like a butterfly, you're fine.
Yeah.
Alright, so what
I
I
love
do
butterflies.
Here, let me make sure I don't accidentally meow the meow. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go meow the meow. There we go. And I'm going to meow the meow here. I may have to meow this meow as well. What is that crazy nonsense? Did anybody else watch that link? My goodness. What in the world is that? Okay, Winston's mom, we're all in agreement what the snake represents. Represents one thing. 100% pure schlong.
Yeah.
Watch to the end? I mean, I cannot
No
watch
way!
the
I'm sorry, but it made me uncomfortable.
I'll look at the end of it at some point. Okay.
I was like, why was she like...
Why is she naked?
Yeah. Why does she have to be
Where
naked?
does she come from? Well, see, where does she come from? At the beginning of the video, he's standing in this water, in this room for no reason, and he's singing, it's like, okay, this kind of songs go like, and long ago the troubadour would travel through the woods, and then he'd see a bia 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 and da dum bum bia bum bum ba ba bum bia bia bum 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 bia. It's like one of those kind of songs, okay? He's throwing a guitar, he's wearing like a blue suit, and he's singing this very like serious German voice, singing this basically like, and we band of merry adventurers go off into the medieval woods song, right? He's dressed, even though he's wearing that suit, he's dressed. I mean, even though he's dressed up in a suit, he's standing in water, and then he's walking along, and then all of a sudden there's like a naked lady behind him. He's out in the stream someplace. And then he's got blood all over him for no reason.
He's got his guitar, he's got like blood on his hands and face.
And then the naked lady's swimming under the water for no reason. And I don't understand any of it, frankly. Okay, I will go check see the part that you want me to see.
Hi, Pee Pee.
Okay, well, there's a fair amount of it that has a black thing on it that says censored. But I realized what that song reminds me of, basically. It reminds me of the theme to Gilligan's Island. Isn't it? Don't you see what I'm saying? It reminds you of the theme to Gilligan's Island a little bit. Except it's got this horribly, like, dark, I guess, video that's unpleasant to watch and makes me shake my head at their poor artistic decision-making process. Listen to a bit of the song, you'll see what I'm saying. It sounds like Gilligan's Island theme a little bit. I'm not saying he ripped off the song from Gilligan's Island. I'm just saying it's evocative of the Gilligan's Island song's themes. All right, Sky Gear.
You have another one?
Well, I was trying to. All right, there you go.
It's not everyone's cup of tea.
We're gonna see some Bulgarian music video.
Cool.
When you surrender what isn't under your control, you're not giving up a crown, you're giving up a yoke.
Whoops, Sky Gear.
I chose myself.
Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, were you
No.
on the...
It's fine. It's fine. Alright, let me try one of these. You know, I gotta tell you, Londor, I am pretty sure that you're making a big mistake is not very convincing to most non-theists.
Yeah.
Alright, let me watch a little bit of this. Geiger, you have successfully accomplished your goal.
Yes, you have. We both...
Showing me an example of poor Bulgarian artistic decision making.
Oh my gosh, it was Bulgarian? Wow.
That is absolutely awful.
Yep.
May I recommend that nobody ever watch it? 9 million views.
9 million?
Mm-hmm. 9 million
That's
views.
more than... Wow.
I'm sure most of them were just for a few seconds, though. Probably.
Probably.
The first link that Sky Gear shared is just, it's like, burn your eyes awful.
I'm so French.
That first one you put is actually one of the most popular Bulgarian songs. I mean, it's terrible. Okay, sure, Raphael. These damn fruit flies around here have got to die.
Yeah. Yeah! Should we like...
Now, this is an example of not the, like, Bulgarian music at its least terrible, right?
Yeah.
This is what Skygear says this is an example.
Okay.
Like, Bulgarian music, but hey, not so bad.
Not so bad. Okay, cool. I'm down.
Let's check it out. We'll see. I liked it better before the singing started. Once the singing started, it was like, I don't like that singer very much. It's very operatic metal, you know?
Trouble.
There's trouble here?
Yeah. I got it. Yeah. Go.
Beta, alpha, delta, gamma. Can you give me a one-word description for each? Beta, imperious. Alpha, egalitarian. Delta, which one's delta again? Is it NFPs, STJs? Fucking fruit flies? I don't know where they're coming from. I can't figure out where the hell these things are coming from. There just seems to be an endless supply of 2 or 3 at a time in the room. What you talking about, Raphael? I didn't hear your song yet. Which one did you put here? Do you want me to listen to? I didn't see it. I'll go up and look. Which one's delta? Okay, well, regardless, okay, gamma's with the NTJs. Fine. Gamma's with the NTJs, and that means they're so ICJ and ENFPs are deltas. I would call them self-benefiting. And I would call gamma the call them frame walkers. Like
task oriented.
Like daywalkers for vampires. I call that frame that group, the NTJs and SFPs, frame walkers.
Yeah, frame walkers.
They walk a given frame hard, you know? Like, they know how to walk it well, and they walk it appropriately. So anytime you're in a frame, they're great teammates. If you're not in a frame, they're always potentially enemies, or potentially not related to you at all, you know? Yeah, I call them flame walkers. And then, you know, beta's imperious, alpha's egalitarian, and delta's self-serving. Is it possibly someone in the middle of two types? No. You might very well be in the middle of two types if you're comparing yourself against type descriptions or something. You say, if on balance I've collected all this data about all the different type descriptions that I've determined that I correlate equally well with INFP and INTP, for example. Well, it doesn't matter if you feel that way about the type descriptions or not, because that's not determinant as to whether or not you're INTP or INFP. Rather, it's an expression of your cognitive function stack. So if you are an FI dom, then you're INFP, and if you're a TI dom, then you're an INTP, and whatever your affect, remember that there's always two ways of relating to a function. You're relating to it in relation to yourself and your own interests, absolute value, or you're relating to it that links in general with the absolute value, or you're relating to it in terms of affect. So I can talk objectively about your affect, but I can't talk nearly as objectively about how you cognate behind the display. I might conclude that often I'll use information, as anybody will, from the physical realm to draw conclusions about what's going on behind the eyes. Like, for example, I would say, well, I could tell she was lying. Now, in that instance, you're saying the affect revealed information she was trying to hide about what's behind the affect, right? Or the illocutionary dimension, as I would call it. But the thing is, functions work that way too. So basically, TE for me is when the world expects my affect to match something. In other words, when it's like, hey, you're not, this thing that we call you is not coordinating with our expectations for it in some way, or here are expectations for this you to coordinate with this other thing over here, then I have to produce TE. And I expect myself, which is to say, I expect the world to expect me to produce TE, which, if the world is using me for my tool function, TI, is a reasonable expectation to make. Now, the problem is, not everybody in life ends up interacting with the world in ways in which the world expects them to use their tool function, especially in conjunction with their dominant. I'm fortunate. As a debate coach, the world expects me to use NE and TI, which is comfortable for me. The job requires me to use NE TI, which is comfortable for me. However, other people expect me to use more TE, which means I also need to make sure that not only that I've explained everything correctly, but that I've organized the kids' cards for them and registered them on the tournament on time, and follow some sort of order of operations, like remember to ask the judge before the round, meow questions, those kind of, like, knowing how to do that kind of stuff, as well as just knowing the arguments, knowing how to turn my good ideas into the student actually performing well in a round is also part of TE.
Mm-hmm. I'm learning so much about TE.
The thing is, the point about functions then in general is for me, extrovert intuition is something that I both use for my own purposes and that I use in addressing the world's demands on me. Introverted thinking, more or less the same, although I don't actually prioritize it for my own purposes when it's in conflict with something else that I value more highly. On the other hand, for extroverted feeling, I'm much more likely to demand it of the world rather than provide it to the world. Which is to say, it's something I use for my own self-purposes. Whereas extroverted thinking, I am not going to apply it when it's all up to me. So if I'm in my free time, I might decide to, instead of fixing this thing, leave it unfinished for a long stretch of time because I get stuck figuring some part of it out and I just don't want to hassle with figuring the rest of it out. It seems hard, you know. Like, there are times when you hit a barrier in TE. You're making progress, figuring out a problem, you know, at some sort of barrier to action usually. Like, I can't replace this part of this thing until I figure out what's wrong with this because the new part doesn't fit in there like it's supposed to, and I got to figure that out right. That's like a gumption trap where you go, oh fuck it, I don't want to do this right now. When you thought you were on your way to fixing something, and you realized you didn't have it all the way figured out. So
I
then
don't
you
mean
get
to
stuck
laugh
on
at
TV.
that, but I totally get it, you know?
I really think not knowing your type has some great utility to it, or in other words, don't get fixated on external framework, just reflect upon yourself. Well, I mean, you got to reflect upon yourself through a framework. That's the thing. You can't reflect. You can't reflect independent of some frame of reference.
I like that you mention a lot the ontology of a person, because I feel like, at least for myself, it was really important for me to be typed correctly, because I was kind of like floating around and not really understanding me or myself, or like how was it that I was like doing things right but also like wrong. So I was like I felt lost. So it did affect my ontology, like not knowing my type. So for me, it's been helpful. Having the correct typing and reading and listening to the correct information, I'm like, aha. Things in my puzzle of life are now connecting. Where before it was more like square peg round hole.
Right. So, first let me address Winston Mom's Bongard problem thing. A Bongard problem is a problem where basically you've got to not deduce, but I guess infer the rule from the answer. So basically the thing gives you an answer and you infer the rule. And that's backwards in most puzzles. But he's trying to make a point about frames, and he talks about a lot of the same kind of stuff that I talk about, which means, I'm trying to figure, is this? Oh,
It's the camera.
which one's this one? Oh, that's just how it is. I see. I got you now. So
He's the sweetest.
I will remember to unmod you right now. Thank you, Sky Gear. I appreciate
Thank you,
your
Sky Gear. That is
nobility.
very nice. That honesty, ingenuity. No, not ingenuity. Earnestness. I like that.
being type means you can't go outside this framework because it claims to be universal, but all it does is observing certain patterns that stay the same way over time. So why not just reflect on that without the cognitive function framework? Okay, well, I don't think the cognitive function framework says it makes no claims about itself as a framework per se. You know, I'm making claims about it as a framework, saying it works as a universal framework. Yeah, that it works as the top level meta framework because more so than any other framework I've encountered, it accounts for how everybody else's framework is an expression of this configural peculiarity of personality type. It seems to subsume everything else as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Except, there are obviously issues that aren't within its purview. It doesn't subsume those things that are not within the core, within the area of stuff that it's supposed to explain.
Yeah. Be right back.
No, but see, there's a big
I'll get
difference,
to here.
right? There's a big difference between saying I find it useful as this, and saying that it is this in some as a part of its identity. What I'm saying is, subsumption is not part of the identity of things normally. I guess it is. I guess subsumption is part of identity. The reason I'd say it subsumes is simply because I'm doing a comparison rather than saying it inherently subsumes. In other words, every other frame seems to be easily enough subsumed by a cognitive function frame because those other frames are failing to account for why the individual is arguing the frame that he or she is. That's the thing that no other frame accounts for. If I'm arguing frame A, in no other frame of reference besides cognitive functions that I know about, does it meaningfully explain why I'm choosing to argue about cognitive functions, for example. Like, Kierkegaard never explains why is it that he chooses to engage with idea X in idea Y and produce this insight about it, and other people don't. Or other people produce insights about other things. He doesn't account for his own predilection, and so as a consequence, always expresses to some extent his own function bias without an awareness. Even though I love Kierkegaard, I think he's fantastic. Of all the famous philosophers, he's my favorite. Just reading random bits of shit from him. I went on a little bit of a Kierkegaard run the other day. Yeah. Kierkegaard. One of the three metaphysical types, not ENFJ. So probably ENTP, possibly INTP, possibly INFJ. Maybe INFJ. You'd have to be a super smart INFJ. Normally they aren't that TI robust, so I doubt it. But, okay, about 7th slot FI. 7th slot FI, I would say one of the most notable things about it is that what I've come to see as the beauty of countervalued FI. Rachel and I spent a lot of time at the beginning of our relationship engaging in FI of some sort, or having a lot of FI relevant stuff happen. So it was like there was sort of a conscious effort to FI for a while, and to establish those kind of positive FI habits. And then there was additionally the naturally occurring FI of insecurity and uncertainty that goes along with a new relationship on both ends, which means we were kind of sensitive, I guess. And there was a mutually held sort of belief independently of each other that the way to increase a sense of security and stuff like that was to have those FI connections.
Mm-hmm.
But there came a point where we just sort of literally go, okay, we don't need to do that anymore now. We've completed that probably necessary phase.
It is. Yeah, it is necessary.
But to try to persist in it any further now is actually counterproductive and will cause us to get, will cause friction. Because she countervalues FI. I am blind to it, so ultimately I countervalue spending much time in it. And as a consequence, it's hard to, see, this is the thing. Raphael says, MBTI seems such an easy excuse for him. But here's the thing you've got to explain. Why is it that she and I can be so happy together and affirm that we're so happy together while spending so little of our time really doing anything that is feelings related?
It's like, for real. Like, how many times do we, kiss a day?
She'll come over periodically and say, can I kiss you on the cheek? Yes, of course.
Yeah, because I don't know, I like asking.
I think she feels flare-ups of FI more often than I do. The thing is,
I do.
What it boils down to is attention to the other person.
Yeah,
so it's like, how much attention does each party in a relationship expect the other to pay attention to them? Mm-hmm. And the fact is, Rachel and I are both most comfortable with very low expectations in that regard. Mm-hmm. It is occasionally the case that maybe if I'm super absorbed in something, she might be like, hey, can we spend some time together? Or I might say the same. But that would be the exception. Mostly we're quite comfortable in our own little emotional space. We don't really want to be emotionally invaded by the other person. And it's what that means is just not that we do have moments of emotional closeness periodically flare up through the day, like I feel this warmth for her or whatever, but we don't want it to come with any expectation or burden. I think this is consistent for both of us.
It totally is. When I ask for a hug or a kiss or whatever, it's just like a flare up of feelings. Sometimes intentional, sometimes out of the blue, and it's great. I don't know. It's exactly the right amount for me.
Right.
Because it feels right. It really does. For me.
I mean, the thing is,
for us,
FI people, they know what they want, and there's a basic difference between that and the way Rachel and I approach things, which is, for example, it will never be the case that I will go to some package of shit we have bought and Rachel's had the last one. I know that she and I could battle that for weeks, and she will not eat the last one of them. I know that if the last ice cream was there, either if there were 2 ice creams there before, there's at least one left. If there was just one there before, it's still there. She's not going to eat the last one. She does the ice cream. She does
I don't even mean to. Honestly, I really don't even mean to.
It just happens naturally with your FE tool.
It does, yeah.
So the thing is, it's very different than FI. It's not like we express what we want and then balance out who gets what they want or how we both get what we want or whatever. Instead, we both defer to the other person to what they want. Neither of us really has a strong preference. We sort of agreeably take turns on expressing preference, or occasionally we think, hey, I do know what I want.
You know what? We like a lot of the same stuff, and it really helps. It really helps. I trust your taste. I really do. And
I mean, likewise. Yeah, the thing is, that's the thing that I never even really considered would be super important in a relationship, but is massively important.
Yes.
Is we just don't disagree about media very much.
No.
Very rarely will she like something I don't like, or vice versa.
And if very rarely.
And even then, it's probably it's like she watched something today that I knew I didn't want to watch, but I've never seen it, so I don't even know if I don't like it.
No, I'm telling you, you wouldn't. The main character is an INFP.
Oh, that's because this movie that I didn't want to watch is called So All the Boys I've
Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You.
To All the Boys I've Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that.
Doesn't that say it all?
Sounds terrible.
For me, I like it because the girl's Korean. I learn about Korean culture through so that's like kind of why. But I would not recommend it for Eric at all. And actually, it was the first time for me, the first time I watched that movie. I like watching movies that I've watched before without Eric because I don't feel like I'm, like, I want to show him the best stuff. I don't know. That's how
So
I am.
Tom Dixon has a question. Do you ever have a hard time recognizing your own feeling because you're so in tune with other people's?
No. It's a good question.
I would say you don't have a hard time recognizing your own feelings. I just don't think that if they're not requiring your attention, that you probably don't prefer to attend it to them.
Oh, God, fuck. Yes, that's totally right, man. Because, like I told you, when I was at camp, and every single day they were asking us, like, what we're feeling. I'm like, I'm just tired. Yesterday I was tired. Today I'm tired. Why do I have to have a feeling for every day?
Like, tired's not a feeling.
Yeah, and they would say that tired's not a feeling. And then one day I came in and I was like,
annoyed at your questions? That's the actual truth, right?
Yeah, really.
So you guys need to disagree more? No, James, I don't think we need to disagree
No,
more.
trust. We do not need to disagree more. And we do. It's not perfect. It's definitely not perfect, but it's great. I trust his taste. That's important. I've been with people where I did not trust their taste, and it would be a little bit I would grip my teeth a little bit in watching it because it wouldn't be my taste, but you want to accommodate the person that accommodating the person that I'm with.
Also, everybody to some extent identifies with that which they think is good or present as good or are enjoying. So no matter who you are, if you're enjoying this snappy song by Joe and the Banana Peels, then if the person who's with you goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you like this shit," that's going to be a problem, right? It's not going to go well. At the same time, if you're an intuitive at all, you're not going to tolerate or be fooled by niceties like, "Oh, that's nice, dear." It's not going to. Obviously, you don't think much of it or whatever, or you'll get down to the fact that they don't think much about that sort of thing at all. Maybe.
Yeah.
All these sort of things are possible interactions over media. Mm-hmm. In contrast, Rachel and I, we exchange thoughts about what works or what doesn't work in a video. How like I think. Like, oh, I think this actor did a good job with this, or this actor did a bad job.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or
the plot line
stuff.
Inconsistencies even.
Right.
We really do make a fair critique of
I try to analyze
what we're watching.
Get the correct analysis.
Yeah. Oh, I feel bad.
I'm going to get troublesome food.
Oh, I did, but I guess I didn't put it on a plate, so I want to eat it. Is that what happened? I feel so bad. Because, I don't know... Loving up on pee-pee? Yeah. Trouble has a thing for pee-pee, but pee-pee's in control. Pee-pee is Trouble's supervisor. Thank you, love. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I thought I could handle no plate too, but he's not eating it.
Well, he just got that on a... you gave him the gross kind. He might not like the gross kind that much. See, what
now
we're
he's getting
about.
picky? I'm just not gonna.
Well,
I'm just gonna ignore.
Friends, but he's being
I'm
friends
just
with
happy.
PP
I'm
too.
just happy he's eating.
He's also friendly with PP. He's not. They don't fight. Not like Orange Kitty.
Well, Orange Kitty's the one we have to watch out for. She goes after Orange Kitty. No. I just told them that PP is Trouble's supervisor type.
ISFPs, ESTPs.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
ISFP is ESTP supervisor.
You're right.
Yeah, so that's why she's up on the table right now. She's higher than him.
She's supervising it.
Yeah, she
what
really
if you guys
is.
took turns making the decisions each outing? I mean, well, there's not a lot of decisions to be made, really.
With us?
Yeah, like what decisions do we make?
What food we want to have, and we agree on what we want to eat usually. We like McDonald's, we like Mexican, we like steaks.
Well, generally both say
like
we
burritos.
don't care at any
Yeah.
given moment. Like for any given meal, if you ask what do you want to eat? I don't care. I ask her, what do you want to eat? I don't care.
We both don't. See, that's where I think that what you were saying with the intuitive nature, I think that's where David Kiersey got it right, because I think the communication style of the intuitive is important. A lot of the things that I talk about are very metaphysical, whether I mean to or not. And
I think you got it right for INFJ, ENTP, but I think the thing is, it's not intuitive, it's metaphysical.
Yeah, right.
So, for example, I do think that
right.
INTP and ESFJ is a good pair.
I do too, actually.
Because ESFJ has to have that countervalued NI because they don't have any NI, so otherwise it's going to drive you nuts, right?
Yeah.
What did I do with that? Oh, I remember. Oh, space objects.
We move
I break
stuff
so many light
around.
bulbs. Oh my god, I break so many light bulbs.
Really?
Well, because I'm constantly knocking lamps over. And every time
I'm
I
so
knock a lamp over,
careful.
the light bulb breaks. I shit you not.
I try to move around the... That's so funny.
I knocked this lamp over last night.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Oh my gosh.
My light bulb needs to be replaced again, even though I just replaced it yesterday.
I love you.
My dad has a lot of light bulbs. At some point, I know I'm going to get the son. You know my light bulb bills are going up.
Oh my gosh.
I believe I've hard. Get a sturdy lampshade. Hey, James. Don't be talking shit about the lack of lampshade sturdiness around
We've
here.
got a lot of sturdy lampshades. We had to figure this out.
Sturdy lampshade is my middle name.
We did an awesome job. Honestly, we did all of this yesterday. We moved all of our clothes from this side over to the other side. My little cubby space, I moved all my stuff over there. It looks great.
It's my little cubby. It's my little cubby. It's small and it's grubby. It's my little cubby.
I like it. I do. And I have my my crystals from Winston's mom out also. I've been using the tablet, you know, the yes no circle, and it's been half and half with me. I think that Eric maybe should give it a shot more. But it's half and half with me. Like I asked it if Danny wasn't going to be coming to the party, and it said no, but he did.
You know the old saying, if you just try dowsing, you only be browsing. I don't know if you've heard that or not.
Hi, Grey Kitty.
Very important.
See you
old
later.
saying. Meow this meow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that better?
No, I'm
That's
sorry.
worse. Now I'm failing even more. God. How frustrating for me.
No, see, what the heck is that?
It's just
It's
a shadowy
weird.
over
It's
here in
shadow?
the corner or something. I don't know. Alright, well, let me try this then. Maybe I'll put this on the floor. Try to have it go up instead. Like this.
That's better. Well, it was. That's good.
Not too bad.
No. That's better.
Oh, there. That's so good now.
That's so good now. So good.
You cringe at FI. That's the thing. I don't typically cringe at FI. I cringe at FE though, for sure. Like when I watch those movies with the tough FE moments, we were watching 21 Jump Street. I had to stop watching it.
Oh yeah, those are tough.
It was too FE cringy. All those like cringy humor movies, those are hard for me to watch.
Romance. And that's all like 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street is about. It's like all the FE stuff. You know, like they go back to school and it has to deal with like the bullies and one of them is popular and the other one isn't. And they have this like, you know, argument and it's like awkward things just keep on happening and high school is an awkward time. So you feel, you know, you're engaged with that. Throughout those movies.
I have a little bit of audio gear advice if anybody knows anything about audio gear. I need to get some sort of compressor that goes between my mics and the sound card. Does anybody have any knowledge about those things? If so, please share it with me. Zaylin flees from FE.
The scene is from Sacramento. It's the train station at Sacramento, right?
I think he means what scene from the movie made me cringe.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I don't know.
No, the whole. It was almost the whole
Yeah,
thing.
it was just all the time.
Yeah.
It's constant. Well, what's an example of FI cringe? Well, you know, the thing about FI is nowadays my reference point is before
Sunrise, yeah.
sunrise.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is basically these mics have too much of like a, I guess, sensitivity or something, such that I can't find a spot where they don't peak out pretty often, but they're still loud enough, you know? So I need a compressor that goes between the mics and the sound card. Because obviously I can't put a compressor, or there may be a kind of compressor that's USB that I could put between the sound card and the computer, but I don't think so. It makes a lot more sense to have a compressor go before the sound card, you know? So that's what I'm looking to acquire, and I want to know if anybody has any suggestions about a good way to solve that problem, a good specific piece of equipment to buy, or a 2058L compressor goes between mic and sound card. That sounds like what I'm looking for. That's sort of thing, right? Well, let me Google it. 2058L. So, it's something I've needed for a long time. Because the other thing is, it's like, if I don't turn them off, there are these settings that that adjust automatically. So like, if it's too quiet, it'll bump it, and if it's too loud, it'll duck it. But then I have these moments of like super loudness and stuff. I mean, connecting the mic to the sound card is not a problem. My sound card has microphone inputs.
It's worth the investment. No?
See, okay, well, 3D Nomad, you're saying I could run a software compressor on a software compressing algorithm on the input of the audio before it gets to the like OBS or something. That might be a possible solution, but the thing is, I didn't know that was. Does that exist? There are software compressors that you can insert on the bus somewhere, like between things or whatever. Well, let me look up this 20580 compressors. It's like it kind of depends on how much the equipment costs. If the equipment is expensive, the out-of-the-box equipment is expensive, then I'll probably go with the software solution if I can find one that works well. Like, I use Audacity, and I don't... CL A2A compressor limiter. What kind of inputs does it have? Oh, this is a plug-in. I want a real compressor. External compressor. Huh. See, this is why I hate looking at this shit. It's like, you gotta figure to get TE. Goddamn TE.
Yeah.
Oh, plugins. This is a real one. Go to plug-in.
Full.
God damn it. Alright, well, this is why I haven't done this yet, because it's a big, complicated thing. Mic's compressor to mic input. You need a 1/4 inch jack to 3.5. Okay, that's good to know. So 3.5 is mic. Is the mic kind of input? Is that what you call 3.5? This is considered a TE topic. Yes, this is a TE topic. So it's like, this is sort of stuff that it seems like a simple enough question. Oh, I need to get an out of the box compressor, but really it's complicated because I have to make sure. Okay, so the mics now are going to go into the compressor. Oh, well, actually, I don't need that adapter, no man, because I've got 1/4-inch ends on my sound card as well. They're those kind of ends that you can plug a mic into, and then in the middle of it, it's got a 1/4-inch in. I don't know if you've seen those before. They're kind of cool. But yeah, I can go 1/4 to 1/4. So I'll get a compressor that has 1/4-inch outs, go into the 1/4-inch ends of the sound card, and then pick up the mics compressed already by the sound card. That's the plan. I hear sexual harassment happens a lot in the military. Really?
There's a movie about it, isn't there?
I don't know.
That one with Demi Moore. A Few Good Men.
I think sexual harassment probably doesn't happen very much anymore since
Oh no,
the whole
G.I.
Me Too thing,
Jane.
right?
G.I. Jane.
What happened with this light? You turn it off?
Yeah, I did because it was doing that.
Okay, so let's...
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. It's starting to get darker out.
Yeah, I have to adjust the lights when it gets darker, I guess. Well, we just have the sun there. It's fine. You get sexually harassed by your male friends. Well, maybe you should not tolerate that. Have you considered saying no? Don't do that. Or perhaps, hey friends, what you apparently perceive of as teasing, I find to be harassment. They just like to grab your junk. They're not gay. They just like to hold on to your penis. Oh no, I'm not gay. I just have a habit of penis holding. Look, there's a big difference between gays and habitual penis holders. Okay, big difference. And the truth is, every man is a habitual penis holder. It's just that it's his own penis.
Facts.
Facts.
Penis support. Exactly. CDR nomad. Yeah. Nice bong rip, bae. I endorse that bong rip.
That was a good one. That was a bell ringer.
Yay.
This is some cakey weeds we got here too.
It's nice.
You should touch their girlfriend every time they do something gay. You should. That's a good idea. The girl probably would be like, hey, wait. Do I not have any say in this little game? Of course, that's the problem, is you're trying to indicate that you don't seem to have any say in this little game. You know. Why did females get to be the secretaries in ancient times? So unfair. How in ancient times only the chicks got to be secretaries. It's like, I'm so sick of being the executive. Why can't I be a secretary for a change?
Mad Men's all about that.
Do you buy weed based on quality or hot deal? Quality. We don't necessarily get the best weed we could possibly get or anything, but like we get Kano Shelf at the weed store, which is one below elite. There's only one weed that they call elite there, but I don't think it's necessarily better than the Kano shelf at all. And in fact, sometimes we'll get the VIP shelf if the Kano shelf looks kind of spent.
True.
This time, though, we got some very nice looking stuff off Kano, which was...
True.
I'll show you a piece of it. It's these nice, big, cakey buds. Like this.
Mm-hmm.
Smokes...
Very nicely.
Smokes like unicorn breath.
Yeah, it does.
If you've ever smoked unicorn breath before, you know that oof, nothing is quite as... Oh no, Eric! You did not.
What?
Drop the piece of bud into the ball.
Oh no.
So I got it all.
Nice.
Needs to dry though.
Okay.
Hopefully there's still enough water. We had a little bit too much water in it anyway.
That happens.
Winston's mom felt insulted when she roomed with two lesbians who never once hit on her. I don't blame you.
Bell ringer.
So, it's been a good bottle of Adderall. I'm reaching the end of a bottle of Adderall. That always tells me there's going to be a stretch of time where I'm not particularly productive at getting things done. That sort of the fervor that can sometimes provide a certain amount of energy to a video be there less consistently. But I'm not feeling too... Rain Fox says... Oh, that's not you. Never mind. James wants to be a lesbian. I am outy enough harassment for war day. Good night, y'all. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Raphael. Why would that even matter long more? If someone wants to be lesbian, they can be lesbian. James wants to be lesbian. Can he be lesbian? What about me? I fear I am a lesbian.
What about me? That's a good question.
I'm beginning to be afraid that I am.
That sounds like a movement. The what about me movement.
What about me? Why can't I be whatever, too?
Exactly.
Hashtag what about me? Why don't I get to be a victim, too? I don't see what the problem is here. You guys get to be victims of racism and sexism and all that stuff. I get to be a victim, too. What about me? I'm a victim of your bullshit. Mortgage is not too politically correct. Like lawnmower. Trans smokers. I only smoke trannies in the best possible way, okay? That's not meant to be a joke or insulting or anything. I'm just saying, obviously I'm not a bigot.
Do me a favor. My mug, please.
Would you like your mug?
Yes, I would.
It's empty.
Oh, thank you. That's why I need my mug.
Are you going to fill it up?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
How you doing on yours?
I've lost it. Oh, there it is. Let me see. I've still got some, thank you.
Okay.
That's how we'd be if we were in England. If Rachel and I were both living in England right now, that's what it would be like.
That's totally how we would be like.
You know, as America's first transracial presidential candidate, I just want to remind you all that if you want to object to my smoking, like, you know, people will say, well, being a bad role model or whatever for presidential candidate. Hey, that's racist. Stop. You're just saying that because I'm trans. If I were cisracial like you wouldn't think it was a problem.
He is transracial.
There's no inherent problem with anything that somebody might deem politically correct. It's a matter about the specific thing. Good question, 3DR Nomad. What about me? But what about me? So next time somebody says, you know, like, because I am a gay, trans, minority, African American male, and that means I understand. I'm going to stand up and say, hey, what about me? Huh? Hashtag, what about me? You think this makes me feel good? All this, it's so great to be gay, so great to be black, so great to be whatever. I'm not those things. You're making me feel bad. What about me?
You're saying right now.
Well, I don't understand why you get to have identity markers that are good and I have to have identity markers that are bad. Because people used to make people like you have bad identity markers? That's a silly reason. Doesn't it seem like we should abandon such identity markers entirely instead? Of course it does. You know, it's why central to my campaign platform is the simple reality that slack dives matter. People should be able to dive however they want, whether it's with sort of rigid attention to form or just in a slack way that they see fit, you know. Slack dives do, in fact, matter.
Stacked guys.
Stacked guys also matter. We can't exclude from our constituency stacked guys. I may be not so stacked myself. You know, I'm just sort of medium.
You got guns.
Medium-ish, you know, kind of lean and lanky, but
yeah,
not too bad.
But you got muscles.
A tall guy, right? But
yeah.
That doesn't mean that stacked guys don't matter.
Right.
Stacked guys matter. It's true. I'm glad you
It's
pointed that out.
true. You know who was a stacked guy back in his day? John Travolta. When he was boogie nighting. That you can call a stacked guy.
You know what else I think is important to remember? Flat pies matter as well.
They do. Sometimes you make a pie and it goes flat.
Everyone's always like convex pie, concave pie. I say, hey, flat pies matter too.
They do. A lot of people make pies with the best intentions and then they flatten out. But there's nothing wrong with them. They're just flat.
Right.
It's very important that.
Also, track knives matter. So, you know, it's like if you're at the track, don't carry a knife when you run around when you're jogging. That's a good way to hurt yourself. Track knives matter. Put them away until you're done running.
Listen to Jose.
Hey guys, I need to call the type police on someone? Oh. Type police. Okay, who do you need to call type police on? Who you type policing? Who you reporting to the police? Content cop. I'm not content cop.
Please pull that guy over. Thanks, Running Fox.
Thank you for that. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. I was like, who?
Yeah. Sharing a link even. What about me?
Okay,
3DR Nomad.
You
get a thumbs up.
I'll make you temporarily a moderator so you can share a link, okay? And then when you're done sharing the link, I'll unmoderate you. Because after all, you are an insidious apple.
Ooh, it's Saturday. Saturday.
Is Insidious,
Saturday.
does Insidious Apple refer to the company Apple? In which case, I'd agree. They are insidious.
Yes.
If a man with a triangular front and a polygonal back were allowed to exist and to propagate a still more irregular posterity, that would become what would become of
It's
the artist
Sunday?
of life.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
Not yet for here.
Quit being a calendar future man. Morage, I have hope for you. Well, don't be so condescending to Morage. Morage is a wonderfully FE deft ISFJ gentleman who is bringing the ISFJ charm every day, all day. Don't be condescending to him, because I see no problem with someone consenting to have sex in exchange for money. It's your body. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm all for regulation under that prevent abuse. Let's see. Wrongness about Sunday, James. You've always been known. I've always known that about you. Don't trust James when it comes to Sunday. Of course, I see Flatland being mentioned again in a completely math unrelated context, just taunting me to read it. Morage, I agree with it. My reason is to keep it regulated by health standards for abuse standards and procedure precautions. I mean, I've heard somebody else say before that the best thing that you could make illegal would be pimping. Make pimping illegal. So that it's the case that anytime a woman engages in that profession, that she's the recipient of all the proceeds.
Yeah, I fully agree with that too. What about blimping?
I don't know what blimping is.
Flying in a blimp.
Right, blimping, of course.
Yeah. Do you think that should be legal or not?
I think it should be legal, but highly regulated to prevent venereal disease.
Why venereal disease?
Because everybody knows what you do in a blimp. Oh, yeah. Why else would you take that mode of transportation?
That is true.
Yeah.
It's not the most efficient.
It has no advantages except it's a slow
Hey, baby.
a slow ride to New York City or wherever you're going.
Yeah. Let's go buy blimp.
We should
Simping?
simping be illegal?
A lot of stuff that rhymes with
You
that.
have to define it pretty carefully.
Yeah, very carefully. Because
Let's
we don't want to
see.
offend people.
Okay, I'm going to meow this meow.
Oh, type yeah. Type please.
To meow the meow though.
Yeah, the vocals.
Meow and That's exactly why I stopped doing type plays. There's no way in hell I want to type please that girl.
Because it's basically trying to get her free typing.
No, she's this, sensitive teenage girl who's got, one subscriber or something. And, however many subscribers. She's got, 24 views on this thing, which is not terrible. I'm not saying I get a shit ton more views or whatever.
Yeah, no. Type please, no.
She's
too
clearly,
little.
She's clearly a newbie. She's young. And the last thing I want to do is roll into town, sheriff.
No, that's not a good type police.
Even if you want to roll into town as a sheriff guy, you want to take down worthy criminals, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to go around abusing regular citizens for minor crimes.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to go type police the sensitive teenage girl. Sorry. That just is a no-win situation for me. It's like if you beat her up, who's gonna appreciate that? Nobody.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen.
So, do you think that person is not INFJ? I didn't watch long enough to know, even really. I guess I've already unmoderated though. I have no idea. I didn't watch long enough.
No, we didn't watch long enough to tell him. But Eric,
does Running Fox have a simp army? No, I don't. I'm married. James, she's clearly here instead of talking to her husband. Okay, now look, I've made this sort of observation before too. Okay, it's an observation that took me a long time to start to make because in the initial experience of talking with famous people, I was always assuming that somebody came in and said they were married, that they were happily married, and there certainly was no correlation between time spent here and happiness of marriage. But I have seen since I have been doing live streams and stuff, and that frequency of attendance in the community, it seems to correlate a lot with relationships ending. Like Winston's mom was married when I first saw her around here too, right? But she's not the only one.
Mm-mm.
Jewel, another one. I would assume she was happily married, and then I guess.
Are you counting your own?
That. Huh?
Are you counting your own marriages?
No. I'm talking about people around here ladies who were married when they first came in, and it turned out.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about? I don't know about marriage.
I'm not talking about dudes, though. It's not true for dudes necessarily. I'm talking about married women who are
women
all the time.
Oh yeah, and then
their marriages always end up within a year or two. They're done.
It's
not because of this. This is a symptom of the relationship not being healthy.
Right. So Winston's mom, Jewel, and also what's her name, Cooter.
Yeah, our Cooter, and let's see. There's been others too who. I can't think of it right now, but okay, Running Fox. Hey, listen, I'm not. The thing is, I think it's a funny correlation. I don't think there's any causal relationship. Okay, and that there's I don't think Zandy's relationship is in any trouble.
No,
because she's here fairly often. Not at all.
No, she has a new job.
I'm just confirming that for some people, there's an element of truth to that thing that Lawnmower said.
Some truth, but it's not the whole truth.
But not the whole truth,
yeah.
Right? And I would not call any of that shit Lawnmower verbal cheating. Come on now, heart emojis in a live chat do not comprise any form of cheating.
That's not right.
Rachel heart emojis people all the time.
All the time.
I never even crosses my mind to think.
I'm glad.
Anything bad about it. Yeah, well, that's the thing is people do need interaction that they like and that seems like what they want, right? They do need that. And a lot of people are with another person in their relationship that, you know, they've got various compatibilities, but maybe talking to each other isn't really one of them. Depending on the type, you have more or less need for that talking on the same wavelength thing. You don't have to get it from your relationship, but it is possible to.
Yeah, and I have to say that we have a nice balance, in my opinion, of silence and talking. Like, I've noticed on drives, sometimes we don't talk to each other, and it doesn't feel weird. It's not like I feel like I have to, like, fill in the space, you know? With some people I do. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this is really weird that we stopped talking. I need to...
Hi, Pecan. I tell you what, I'm going to get a lamp to put that back here.
That's so funny, Morge, and that's the truth. I hard emojied his dog, so I guess that I'm cheating on Eric with his dog.
Yeah. The thing is, lawnmower, about stuff like that also, the reality is, if it's like it was like me and Rachel, neither of us are worried about that at all, because we're not susceptible to that. So
No.
I can be certain that to the extent that she does any of that stuff, it's innocent, and
Oh my gosh.
that also that she's not so naive as to be like, well, she may think it's innocent, but the other person doesn't, kind of thing. She'll be on top of that before I will. So
Yeah.
I don't worry about it at all. And you can, it's conceivable that some dude would try to parlay some basic niceness into something else, but that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the basic niceness. It means there's something wrong with that dude, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe even not that. Maybe it's just he's taking a stab at it.
Yeah. Well,
And he doesn't.
yeah.
You know she's my girlfriend.
Right.
In this case, it would be pretty much impossible not to.
Not to, exactly. It's all over my Instagram and my
Also,
Tumblr too.
Presumably, you're interacting with her here. I'm usually going to be sitting here.
So like all the modes of social media that I use, Eric's on. So it's like, oh, that's nice.
Does that improve things a bit?
Well,
No?
I don't know what's going on here. Or no, it's behind you. Why is it like that?
Does that help? No? Or maybe this needs to go back
No,
here.
it's this lamp. Yeah, it's that lamp. So it obviously needs to be on, but...
How's that? Worse?
Yeah.
Look, I think we
It's not so bad. That's not so bad. It's not bad.
I think what we need to do is put this thing back there.
Okay.
Behind the couch.
Ooh, yeah, yeah.
I think that's going to solve the problem. It's right there, like, yeah.
Hey, Sandy.
We were just talking about you.
Yeah. Oh, heart emojis.
Uh-oh, everybody. Watch out. Watch out. Here come the heart emojis. You wanted harlot, you.
Aw. Sandy, just like I, speak emoji.
Is that better or worse? Worse. Damn this thing. Accursed lighting problems.
I know. It's outside. It's too dark now.
I need an extension cord for this. Right? Here's an extension cord. No, that's fine. I get this like this.
Okay.
Whoa. I'm so glad that was you doing it and not just not falling over by. Nice. It's better. What up, bacon? It's been a bit. Aw. That's fun, Zandy. I'm glad you're in Washington. Were you affected at all by, the fires up north? I heard one of the stories mention Sacramento. Washington is beautiful. You needed to evacuate? Oh my gosh. If it gets worse, you need to evacuate? Wow. You guys are in my thoughts, Sandy. It is scary. I'm glad that you're missing part of it too. I can't believe, like, I've been keeping up with it on Instagram. I'm back to support Eric's political campaign to score a seat in his cabinet. Cool, bacon, not a bad idea.
Thanks, Bacon. I think this is probably the problem, basically, is that I'm trying to do this from too far away, thereby getting too much of the green screen, which means there's more of a chance of shadow.
We had it for like a split second. I can't help but laugh. I don't mean, it's like how does Frank James do it so polished? Like,
Just have good lighting and good setup properly.
yeah.
You know, during the daylight, we don't really need the lights.
No, we don't.
So,
And actually, the backlight does help, but for some reason, like,
I probably need to adjust this too. There's the problem. Simple as that. What's gamma? Oh. Yeah, I just needed to mess with the filter. That was all.
cool. It looks good.
Looks good
Ooh,
enough.
I have a bit of a tan.
We're a little bit unnaturally colored. But that
But
just
it's
goes
working.
with
The screen.
territory.
I don't.
You know, it's interesting. Somebody said, if I were gay, I would want to tap Frank James. Well, for some reason, I don't really feel Although I would imagine I might. I don't particularly feel like threatened at all by Frank James.
Like you don't like, as in like, if he were to approach me, you don't feel
yeah,
good.
like
I think he would want to more approach you than me.
like I'm just saying like if it's probably because he's an INFJ and you just sense that he wouldn't play it that way. But if I were going somewhere with my girlfriend and we saw Frank James, I wouldn't really be concerned about him trying to take advantage of his notoriety to slay, you know? I wouldn't really worry about him being like Keanu Reeves in that movie we just saw, Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, if in fact Keanu Reeves were to, like, if there were a double date like that, that would be interesting to see how your girlfriend acts around somebody like that, you know?
That? Nah. I'm good. I'm a good girlfriend.
I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general. It's interesting.
Well, because remember the girl. I mean, that other girl was terrible. She was being a terrible girlfriend. She was basically dating. She was fawning over.
Right, and ignoring her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Frank J's not jailbait. He's like 30 years old.
Yeah, he's my sister's age. He's what, 32?
Jailbait refers to being too young.
Or 33. He's gonna be 33.
Lots of college advertisements in this house, considering both my sister and I are at that age.
Mommy
I
and
see.
Daddy love PNP.
FJ dated Bukoki and she posted about their dates. I thought she managed to throw a little shade his way, but overall I think she was disappointed it didn't click. She did throw a little bit of shade his way. I remember her saying in one of my live streams
Thank you, PP. I love
that
you too.
in the chat here that he was less masculine than she expected. which is just like incredibly not being careful for an INFJ to say that. Even though that's like the only thing that she really said, it's like that's just her being just gloves off. Bukoki.
Oh.
Did you hear what I said about her at the time she was in the live chat?
No.
She was here one time. It was not that long after she and Frank James broke up, and she's, when I asked her about it or whatever, she said here in the live chat, he was less masculine than I expected him to be.
Ooh.
And I was just like, okay. And granted, she didn't say another negative thing at all about him the whole time, really. She just was kind of like quiet, didn't want to say as much. But if an INFJ busts that one out, you know she was like, at that moment, feeling not happy, right? Because that's a straight up attack. But Frank James does genuinely seem like a nice guy. I don't think there's anything unmasculine about niceness. The thing is, I would like to bring back one of my upcoming titles for a video is going to be recreating or remanifesting or something the era of good feelings. The era of good feelings was a time period after the War of 1812 when the country was so unified by its general sense of commonality, I guess, that basically partisanship died away and there was essentially just no parties or one party, depending on how you look at it. And it was called the era of good feelings. And in fact, it was the last time in American politics where a president essentially ran unopposed for election. But but it was at the end of the War of 1812. There was no more war, the end of a war. So, if you Google it, you'll see. And the thing is, that's interesting as well, is the president at the time, was James Madison. The era of good feelings. I was reading about this yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
And I feel as though it's instructive for what kind of a vision of some sort of past example to refer to as a goal of sorts.
Cool.
So, in particular, I want to the era of good feeling started in 1815 in a mood of victory. Let me change this here. The Democratic-Republican combination party was nominally dominant, but in practice was inactive at the national level in most states. The Federalists had collapsed as a national political force. James Madison, he ran as a Whig eventually. I don't know if it was in that election or not. So the interesting thing is, I really like a couple of parts of this that I want to kind of quote or section out if I can find them again. Well, here's one of the parts. So it talks about the president's physical appearance, wardrobe, and personal attributes were decisive in arousing good feelings and to donned a Revolutionary War officer's uniform, tied his long powdered wig and a queue according to the old-fashioned style of the 18th century. Tall, raw-boned, venerable, he made an agreeable impression and had a good deal of charm, and most men immediately liked him. In manner, he was rather formal, having an innate sense of dignity which allowed no one to take liberties, yet in spite of his formality, he had the ability to put men at ease by his courtesy, lack of condescension, his frankness, and what contemporaries looked upon as the essential goodness and kindness of heart which he always radiated.
That's nice.
So if I have a role model then in terms of trying to fill a role as well as being a regular human being, then this would be, well, okay, let me make something clear. I do not want to don a Revolutionary War officer's uniform or tie my long powdered wig in a queue according to the old-fashioned style of the 18th century. I don't want to do either of those things. But I like the rest of it. The other part I wanted to highlight here was, I'm going to find it again. Here. Monroe sought to merge former Federalists with Republicans as a prelude to eliminating party associations altogether from national politics, including his own Republican Party. All political parties, wrote Monroe, were by their very nature incompatible with free government. Ideally, the business of governing was best conducted by disinterested statesmen, acting exclusively in the national interest, not on behalf of sectional interests or personal ambition. This was amalgamation, the supposed end of party warfare and the beginning of politics of consensus. Now, obviously, that didn't last forever, this era of good feelings. It lasted a total of 8 years. During the administration of James, what's his name? Madison, or was it Monroe? It was. I guess it was half Madison, half Monroe. that what it was? Yeah, it was Monroe. This is Monroe I'm talking about, not Madison, sorry. James Monroe. The method Monroe employed to deflate the Federalist Party was through neglect. They were all denied political patronage, administrative appointments, and federal support of any kind. Monroe pursued his policy dispassionately and without any desire to persecute the Federalists. His purpose was simply to eradicate them from positions of political power with federal states, especially in New England strongholds. He understood that any expression of office approval would only encourage hope for a Federalist revival, and this he could not abide. He was really anti-partisan. And so thoroughly had he reduced party politics. Okay, so yeah, he ran unopposed in the 1820 election. So this is basically his regime. It's Monroe's administration. Anyway, I liked that. I liked reading about that. I thought it was cool.
That is cool.
Let's see. The era of BS feeling is now, or BS feeding. I'm not sure if you meant to say that or not. So anyway, Monroe. I got it wrong. It's Monroe, not Madison. Pain brings peace sounds like something someone who cuts might say, James. I mean, I doubt they all do lawnmower. I know some lesbians, and none of them do, as far as they've said. None of them do what? Use dildos? Oh. I don't know. I don't know why they'd lie, lol. I had the same question as you. Lawnmower. Lawnmower says bi, more like hypersexual is the correct term. Disgustoid agrees with Lawnmower. There's a lot of reasons why girls might say that. I don't tend to buy into this. Treat sexuality like sex, right? So you got sex, gender, and sexuality. And sexuality would seem to fall somewhere in between the two in terms of arbitrariness. In other words, gender is entirely arbitrary. If you really want to say you identify as a given gender other than your sex, then you're certainly entitled to do that. Sexuality would seem to fall somewhere in the category between the arbitrariness of gender and the literalness of sex. Comment on bisexuals? I mean, I don't really have an opinion about it. In the sense that people behave as they choose to behave. Let's say I were a bisexual male. I still have to make a choice, right? I'm not assuming I was bisexual and didn't change my perspective on monogamy. I would still have to make a choice to be with one person. So it's like, in that sense, it's only meaningful if you are not in a relationship. So in that regard, I can understand that the claim that you are bisexual is indicative of more than just sexual orientation, but it does in somehow fashion possibly link to promiscuity or attitude towards relationships. But I don't think that these things that I might find are morally absolute for me are universal moral absolutes necessarily in the way that Lawnmower and Disgustoid appear to. I mean, the point is, I don't necessarily mean that means hypersexuality. Hypersexuality would suggest, I don't know, It makes me think of somebody running around being like hyper, like touching everybody's boobs and stuff. Hypersexuality.
They say that people with BPD have hypersexuality. That's a stereotype.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Hypersexuality is a medical condition. It's literally a compulsive obsessive
Stop!
sex.
Stop laughing. Stop laughing.
I really like Winston's mom's first dad joke. Today my son asked, "Can I have a bookmark?" And I burst into tears. 11 years old and he still doesn't know my name is Brian.
It's funny.
11 years old. He doesn't know his name is Brian. Oh. Can I take the dried weed? Oh, it's still not.
Take some more of the bottle.
I forget.
Dad jokes. I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know. That's great.
That's a good one. I used to ask my Alexa for dad jokes all the time. I don't really remember.
Well, I think the key thing about bisexuality, if you want to comment on it at all, is the point that I make, which is if you are a relationship-minded person like me, it's not a meaningful statement. You could meaningfully say, I've changed from straight to gay, or then I've changed from gay back to straight or something, if you had a straight relationship, gay relationship, straight relationship, right? But it would be incorrect to say that you're bisexual, really, unless you're just saying you like to have sex with a man and a woman concurrently or in sequence with enough frequency to justify making the distinction, right? Because otherwise, in any given relationship, presumably you want to be in that relationship with that one other gender, and that means that you're not worrying about being attracted to people of the other gender or thinking about it at all. You wouldn't. But there'd be no point in identifying as bisexual if you were in a serious relationship with somebody. I mean, I don't think hypersexuality links with. I don't think it necessarily links with either of them. It's more likely. I don't think it links with bipolar. If you're saying it might link with mania, maybe, but I don't know. That's not how I view it, I guess. It's certainly, it's like if a person's already there, if that's already their thing, then they may become manic and express that thing in an even higher extent, but it's not gonna be like expressing that thing in the mania just because there's mania existent.
Yeah, no. Fuck no.
Borderline, the reason borderline people do it is because it's like a firefighter thing. Borderlines will have a poor relationship with their firefighters sometimes, which means they will, you have to do temporal bargaining so that borderlines are not pleasant. No, they are damaging. Is what they mostly are. The borderline CBD people damage healthy people. It's what they do. It's how they roll. They really can't help it. And the healthier you are, to some extent, it can be challenging for very healthy people to get out of those relationships. Like, I had a hell of a time getting out of my relationship with Kimberly. I went into it more healthy than I came out of it, probably. But I learned, I mean, it's not a big deal. It wasn't a big change for me because ultimately I had so much ontology defense around me that it was difficult for her to break me down and get me to internalize bullshit. Also, FI polar, difficult to get me to break me down and get me to internalize shit because I'm always trying to use logic and truth, you know. I also had the community here to say, no, you're right, that is not okay. For certain things that weren't, or correct me, you know, they tended to err on the side of Kimberly, which means, which is fine because I'm the one telling the story. You're assuming I'm bringing some bias to the equation or whatever. But so I emerged from that with fairly little sort of lasting harm or damage, but having learned quite a bit. But most people don't emerge from borderline relationships with comparatively little damage. I did get, I did have, I did experience comparatively little advantage once people come out of those relationships, but I did still have some. I disagree, Eric. Even in a relationship, you're going to be attracted to other people. It shouldn't matter if you act on it. I'm assuming you're being straight, aren't going to be attracted to a man. What do you mean it shouldn't matter if you act on it? So you shouldn't be in a relationship that's monogamous? I mean, the thing is, like, when we're driving around and stuff, there's, it's like I make an effort not to look at chicks. So sometimes there'll be chicks walking around that'll be like skimpily dressed, and the inclination, of course, is to sort of look at them because I don't know when I developed this habit or how or whatever. It's sort of unconscious SE thing, I guess. But I make an effort not to do that because I'm out of respect for my partner. Now, it's true that like, if let's say every once in a while I'll rub one out to either pornography or my own imagination, and in either circumstance it's not necessarily, I mean, in the first circumstance it's definitely not going to be Rachel in the video, right? So as a consequence, there's a certain truth to being attracted to, being able to be sexually aroused, at least, by the images of other people having sexual intercourse. But that's not the same thing, really, as being attracted to other people. And if your boyfriend, if you walk in and you catch him masturbating to pornography, then you might be mad at him, right? Okay. But if you caught your boyfriend masturbating to gay pornography, you'd probably think, I mean, what would you think? I don't know. It would probably be substantially different, right? You'd think, hold on a second. It's like, okay, well, I'm talking about this notion of bisexuality, and Morage is saying that, I'll read what he says. Well, someone who is a bisexual male is going to be attracted to other men even if they're dating a female. Even in a relationship, you're going to be attracted to other people. It shouldn't matter if you act on it. I think he means it only matters if you act on it, is what I think he means. I'm assuming you being straight aren't going to be attracted to a man, while somebody who is a bisexual male is going to be attracted to other men even if they're dating a female. But my point would be, it would seem to me substantially different if you're a girl in a relationship with a man, and you walk in on him one day and he's masturbating to porn. You might be mad at him, but it could be a way different response if he's masturbating to gay porn, right?
That's confusing shit.
Then I mean, it's like you got to put yourself in the woman's shoes. I guess I don't think there's an equivalency there, Morridge, because.
Can I tell my story?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
You want to come sit over here?
Yeah, sure.
I want to freshen my drink anyway.
Okay. So I was telling Eric today about how I went to this. I knew it was over with my ESFJ boyfriend when I went to this family wedding with him, and it was over the top with pageantry, as Eric said, and I was like having physical reactions to it. So I knew it was over.
But he didn't do that in that wedding. Why don't you tell the story of the movie?
So, like, not too long after that, I'm like, something's up with this relationship. Like, I don't trust him anymore. Like, after that thing that happened, I didn't trust him anymore. And I went through his phone, which is not the right thing to do, but I had intuition, and I found all this fucking weird shit. And I'm like, we're fucking done. I'm like, you're on Craigslist asking about, like, fucking Dom shit and stuff? Like, never mentioning this to me at all.
I never heard about that part.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It would be interestingly different if you're a dude and you come in and you see your girlfriend masturbating to lesbian porn, but
yeah.
I'd still be like, I wouldn't think of anything of it, actually, I guess. I would just be like, oh, okay, why don't you do that? Fine. That's kind of bipolar of me.
Can I say, like, I don't know if it's TMI, though.
Just say what you're going to say.
Okay. Because, like, if you were to see anything on my phone, it's for me to learn techniques.
I've never looked at your phone.
I'm just saying in theory, if you were to find anything, it would...
So then if you were watching lesbian porn, I'd think that would be odd, because...
Yeah.
If your purpose for watching it were instructive, then you'd be instructing towards something that doesn't include me, you know?
Yeah, it would be odd.
The other thing I wanted to say was, in response to the question up there, what would I do if I encountered Rachel while looking at porn? Well, I mean, I would, she's already indicated to me that she hasn't produced any, so then there'd be an issue of...
Oh, hell no.
Honesty. So it would be an issue of, like...
Oh,
okay,
no. No. I'm not lying about that. And I can actually say that people have asked me to, and I have said no.
I'm sure most girls can share the reality that somebody's asked them to make porn with them.
Yeah, and you say no. Fuck that. I mean, look, like, if you... But it's such a level of trust, right? Like...
Right. The thing is, it would obviously... But if I did see that, like, let's say that I had never asked her about the question. If we had just a sort of don't ask, don't tell thing about that, which is what I was gonna be my approach, frankly. I never did ask her about it. I volunteered the information one day. I think she could tell I was worried about it or something.
Yeah.
And And so, well, let's say I never did get an answer to it, and I did find something. Well, I couldn't exactly condemn her in any way because I had never indicated that I needed to know that as a prerequisite. I never asked. I had plenty of opportunity to ask, and she had just chosen not to answer, and there you go. But I can tell you that I'd probably find myself watching it despite myself, and that it would be hard to get out of my head.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one.
It'd be real hard to get out of my head.
Can I be brutally honest too? If you said that you were important, I'd probably be fucked up about it too. I think I would be fucked up about it.
But did I not mention my porn career? I spent a decade doing.
Oh, that's right.
Doing mostly anal fisting.
Was that for your reporting with Cosmo? Is that how they got their tips?
That's right. I was undercover for Cosmo, figuring out things you can do to please your man.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So I was both the giver and receiver of various anal fistings in various contexts.
Well, I like our chemistry. I have to say, I'm very happy. I'm a very happy girl.
I'm very happy too. Rich and I were talking about that a little bit today too. I feel so much at peace being with Rachel. Like every day, there's never any lingering matter of concern that needs to be addressed between us.
No, it's so nice. Oh my gosh! And I've been waking up next to him in the morning, and I'm like, oh. And I just want you to keep on sleeping. In my head, I'm petting you, and I'm keep on sleeping.
Winston's, well, no. TI explains why someone researches how. Good question. So, Cloud, are you telling me is this your subtle way of telling me you watched my Bible versus video? I did make a Bible versus video, Cloud.
You did.
You might want to watch it.
It's a good one.
I'm preaching.
I was very...
Preaching the good book.
Yeah. I was very impressed by it, actually.
Thanks.
Welcome. I like that you accept my compliments and praise. Because, for me, they're genuine. And a lot of people don't believe me when I'm... complimenting them, but you say thank you, and I think that's great.
Well, Rachel, I've had multiple people note before. One of them in particular around here would note this. Oh, I know who it was. Rathro Vicky. INFP knows this sort of thing too. But it's nice and clear, so I can notice it as well. That he says when Rachel looks at Eric, it's so obvious that she loves him, and I want to have a girlfriend like that. And I want to have a girlfriend like that too, and I do. So,
Yeah.
I have this song that I made for this other person, and I was sort of right about my concerns about it long term, or in a larger sense, which is
funny.
I'm yours if I want it. You're mine if I want it too. But I want to be wanted, and I'm not sure that's something you can do.
Boom.
And that's been the problem with previous chicks. They don't really want me. They want some
aspect of it.
They want, constrained me. A little bit of me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was your cigarette.
No, it's just one of these doodads. Okay, I think... Hey, Nathan Long.
Hey, Nathan Long. Boom indeed. Oh, you...
How long is your Nathan?
He's got the tenderloins, this ENTP.
Yeah, tenderloin. So I think I'm gonna smoke a cigarette or two. Smoke a bowl or two, and then I think Rachel and I need to go get some dinner. Don't you?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I almost forgot about dinner, y'all.
Yeah, well, we did have cheese earlier, but
I can't believe my brain would consider that eating that. I would wake up in the middle of the night and...
Oh, yeah. We don't want to starve to death.
No. It'll be nice.
So...
Oops.
Get in your important last-minute questions while ye may.
Yeah.
Before ye rosebuds fall from ye rose bushes onto ye ground.
Is there room on there for you to test out the pendulum?
No, not right now.
Okay.
I
Maybe
don't
tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. I want to just smoke a cigarette and smoke a couple bowls and then go eat.
Okay. I'm gonna play Marvel.
And the other thing I want to do, for sure, in this last minute or two, is sing a verse of Frere Jacques. Frere Jacques, Frere Jacques. That's it. That's all I wanted to sing of it. Got that out of the way. Whew. I'm scrolling up to find your... I'm going to find your thing. Okay, I'll rephrase. So bisexuality comprises sexual arousal and romantic attraction with both male and females. You don't just become straight if you are a bisexual man who dates female. Okay, so then what you're saying is if you're a bisexual man dating a female, there's a chance that she's going to walk in on you masturbating to gay porn. What I'm saying is that is going to cause... If your significant other loves you, that's going to probably cause more ontological distress to them than you watching straight porn. On the other hand, which reminds me, I wanted to make the video, a short video, I'm going to do an upload, which is which two types are least likely to watch porn. My answer is ESFJ and ESTJ, because the NI polar, and I got some explanation as to why that is, and then of course, what's the alternative to that?
Well, it's
The most
interesting that
most types to watch it.
really interesting that you say that, because they said that I read on my Flow app that like 70% of women do not masturbate. They can only get orgasm through sex.
It's mostly because we've got them in chastity belts.
I mean,
Keep your hands out of there,
those
lady.
trends.
You keep your hands out of your dirty place, woman. Take your hand from your dirty place.
Oh, you have such a great smile.
Oh, see, I don't know. I guess I can't shake the notion that bisexuality is kind of a lie that gay men tell themselves as they transition from straight to gay or something. You know? I don't really believe that people don't settle in on one or the other ultimately. I mean, I think that people could be like, put it this way, maybe a better distinction between the sexuality by man, woman, or whatever is sexuality in relation to relationships. If you're relationship minded, like you want to get into a monogamous relationship with somebody, then you're not going to view sex so much as I guess like different things that you could stick things into, or things that could be stuck into you, right? I mean, it's like you could imagine somebody who's into orgies, who is humping a bunch of people, and then some other male comes and humps him in the butt, and you could imagine that he at that point is like just into the overall sexuality explosion, and so it all gets mushes together or something. I don't know, one could conceive of that. But see, I would say that is more a preference for non-monogamous sexual relations than it is for any particular gender per se. You know, it's like if you want to be debauchery minded about sex, then it probably doesn't matter so much as long as there are genitals involved, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, people have a preferred drug or drug of choice, but if you're really into getting loaded and you don't have that drug of choice, you'll do some other drug that you don't really like that much because it still gets you loaded, right? Maybe there's a correlate there with sexuality. You know, it's like I don't like, as general rule, downers. I certainly don't like Vicodin, things like that, those kind of opioids or whatever. But let's say I was stuck on a desert island for a long time and had no head change, and then I happen upon some opioids. Well, I'd probably take them, you know, and at least get some kind of loaded. Well, that's because my basic orientation is more towards drugs probably than towards sex, but one can imagine the equivalent towards sex. Well, Winston's mom, I think that explains the Bible verse that I read in the video earlier today, which is one of my favorites. I used no lotions at all for the whole of the 3 weeks. It's a pretty important quote. One of the Bible's most famous and important quotes. It tells us that Daniel, in the book of Daniel, it tells us of the trials and tribulations he faced enduring his deprivation in the area of lotions. Naturally, lotion-related deprivation is one of the leading causes of skin cancer, so that's why it's in the Bible. Let me see. Where's the lotion one? I also really am fond of this one. I love you too, darling. Well, it says, the lips of fools bring them strife, and their mouths invite a beating. What a great proverb. Here, this is Daniel, okay, book of Daniel. I used no lotions at all until the 3 weeks were over. None? Not a single lotion?
Until the 3 weeks were over.
That is amazing.
How inspiring.
Did I visualize myself doing tarot cards a decade ago? No, not at all. I mean, because the thing is, I grew enough in my life that I understood that I had a choice that was sort of FI related. Would I rather be positive and look into what was fun about this thing that she had brought that I wasn't familiar with really? Or did I want to be instinctually negative and go with my function bias and say, well, it doesn't TI validate, therefore it's bullshit? I chose the former, not the latter.
Yeah, and honestly, it's been a lot of fun, at least for me.
Okay, well, one more. You are incorrect, actually. I'm not devolving, nor instead of evolving in faith, because a decade ago, I was essentially an atheist. I certainly was a non-believer. You call it compromising myself. I don't. I think you're compromising yourself by presuming that you can understand my relationship with God better than I can understand it. And by presuming that your understanding of your relationship with God can be put upon me as instructive and determinant on these issues. You're going to have to link to more than just your understanding of things. There's nothing in the Bible that says tarot cards shouldn't be used or whatever. And even if there are things like that, it says fortune telling. And I don't do fortune telling, so I don't know what you're talking about. Will you, a decade from now, visualize yourself doing tarot cards now? I might, if asked to do so.
You're a natural with them. You know why? Because you put, like, positive vibes on it. Like, even if it is a negative card, you make it funny.
I mean, the central point here, though, is regardless of whether it's worthwhile for me to do it or not or whatever, is that there's no possible link that Lawnmower can genuinely make towards my use of tarot cards and overall wickedness or ungodliness.
Wow.
The link he's making is purely associative. He associates that thing with ungodliness and therefore claims that it must be expressive as such in my life. He has no actual reason to conclude that except for that associative link he's made. So, sorry, Lawnmower, you are, can you guess the word W-R-O-N-G? Wrong. That's right, you're wrong.
Here comes the star with the logo. The more you know.
The more you know. I mean, the thing is, I don't see it as a joke. In that video, most of the quotes are not ones that I think of as funny or something. They're ones that I take seriously. If you actually watch the fucking video, you would know this. Okay? For example, and when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans, for they think they will be heard because of their many words. And so I understand this as consistent with my existing understanding and instructive regarding prayer. Prayer is not about burdening God with a whole bunch of words and a whole bunch of requests and a whole bunch of whatever. I try to limit my prayers to two main themes: gratitude and forgiveness seeking. Right? Offering gratitude and seeking forgiveness. So this is consistent with this is sort of analysis I have towards this stuff. And there's additional quotes on here. The Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of his unfailing love. That's the thing you need to remember. Here you are focused on whether or not something associates with your indications of what's a cult or something. The fundamental messages are vastly more important and significant than these peddling concerns of yours. The Lord loves righteousness and justice, and the earth is full of his unfailing love. And you're worried about the fact that I'm touching a deck of cards that's got occult symbols on it. Well, you know, that's just being silly. Another good quote. Who is going to harm you if you're eager to do good? My basic operating principle. To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. So no, I'm not going to sacrifice my fun. You have to show me that it's somehow not right or just, and you failed to do so. I rejoice in following your, meaning God's, statutes as one rejoices in great riches. I am not in opposition to them. I like embracing the good. But you don't view it as adequate because it doesn't match your understanding of some bullshit little symbol that's totally irrelevant in the face of all these large themes. Remember, whoever conceals their sins does not prosper. But the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy. Why is that the case? Because transparency is what's important. The actual talking out of why I think what I think and answering your questions and addressing your bullshit, that's what matters. Remember this, too, Mr. Man, Lawnmower. Words from the mouth of the wise are gracious, but fools are consumed by their own lips. Just because I think something's funny doesn't mean I don't take it seriously. My emotional response to something is totally unrelated to my TI response to something, which is also mostly unrelated to my NI response to something. So don't think you can reduce my good humor to contempt. I find your rejection contemptuous of the overarching principles.
Hey! I just got Thor from my crew.
I'm so happy for you, darling. Now listen, this is me right now, okay? I want you to understand this. I want you to feel me rolling with this shit. Alright? Here, listen. That's what I'm talking about. And when they bring you to trial and deliver you over, do not be anxious beforehand what you are to say, but say whatever is given you in that hour, for it is not you who speak, but the Holy Spirit. When I'm rolling, it's the Holy Spirit channeling through me. Maybe not right this second, but when I am. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Not bullshit associative bullshit. Remember what we learn in Psalm 119:45. And I shall walk in a wide place, for I have sought your precepts. Notice contrary to my normal indications of narrowness, right? So what that tells us is that by walking in the narrow, you are more free to occupy a wider space ontologically than you might think is safe. I understand both the good and myself more clearly than you do, apparently. Because whoever pursues righteousness and kindness will find life, righteousness, and honor. Remember this as well. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, but the heart of the wicked is of little worth. Nice one, huh? He stores up sound wisdom for the upright, as he does for me, and he is a shield to those who walk in integrity, as I do thus walk. Also, he doesn't like false modesty. The Lord doesn't like your false modesty either. Don't get that in your head. As it says right here, it says right here, let me see if I can find it. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Needless to say, I so do present myself. You remember as well that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. See, what else I'm going to bust Lawnmower's Christian chops with? What else we got here? It's relevant. Beyond all question, the mystery from which true godliness springs is great. There is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. Remember, we do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. Remember those things, Lawnmower. If you thanks, Light Bulb. Thank you, Light Bulb. I appreciate it. Cloud, you're just being provocative. I'm serious. No, you are wrong. I'm not doing it jokingly. I'm understanding it for what it is. I don't accept your representation of this as fundamentally evil or whatever. Remember, it's a deck of cards. Whether or not you are engaged in meowing, then it's going to be dependent on what you're doing and how you're doing it. You can't just say, like, this deck of cards renders what you're doing evil. You have to make some sort of link in that regard. It's ridiculous. You're harshing my mellow. Okay? No. Actually, Lawnmower, I wouldn't play with the Ouija board. But you have to remember, I am a very deft metaphysician. I am able to easily walk the distinctions without treading lines. Okay, for me, it's not taking a chance to stand near the edge because I know where the edges are very precisely. I walk along the edges of things just fine without ever tripping over the edges of things. So I know where the boundaries are. Like, this is acceptable and this is not. And you want me to justify why it's acceptable when I do it? Well, it's because I adhere to all those very precise boundaries. And whether or not I can articulate all those precise boundaries is a different question. But I'm saying you're not really, you have no reason to conclude that what I'm doing with it is bad at all. There's no reason to conclude it. It's just an association you have with those kind of cards. Will I be live streaming again after we get dinner? Maybe. Probably at some point. I'm probably going to make that video about which types are least likely to watch porn, and then a second one called which types are most likely to. No big surprise. I conclude it's probably the SE domes. Nipolar is also SE countervalued. I'm not playing a tarot card game. They're universally inherently associated with the occult and witchcraft. Okay, but listen to me. You've not made clear which aspect of the occult or witchcraft that I've engaged in that somehow runs afoul of anything in Christianity. Not anything. You haven't identified a single aspect of what I'm doing. You're just saying those cards themselves have some inherent evil to them, which is insane. It's a physical object. It doesn't have any inherent... guns aren't inherently evil, but somebody who uses one to murder a bunch of people might be called that, But it's like any other tool. It depends on how you use a thing as to whether it qualifies as an example of the thing you're talking about. Just because it's universally associated as such, there's people, I have said many times, there are shit tons of stuff that everybody knows that they're wrong about. The thing is, of course, it's an object that explicitly claims to engage with the dead. I don't think that's possible, and I don't think it's respectful to God to attempt to engage with the dead. Tarot cards don't claim to engage with the dead. As far as I'm concerned, the afterlife is God's domain exclusively, right? So in other words, part of being immortal means, a mortal means that we don't get to know anything about the afterlife, really. Okay, you look it up. Tarot wasn't even invented until the 20th century, Lawnmower. 19th century, maybe? 20th or 19th century. So that's bullshit. Fortune telling is, as I already indicated, fortune telling was. I don't do fortune telling with it, as I've already told you.
You can date it back to at least when Napoleon was dictator. Right?
With tarot cards?
Yeah.
Well, the deck that people use nowadays, the
Rider White?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's like the century.
Yeah, it's 20th century.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the problem, Lawnmower. We have an actual precise definition for fortune telling. It's future telling, right? I don't use it like that. I don't tell the future with tarot. First of all, telling the future is impossible. Because why? It hasn't happened yet. It doesn't exist. It's the only thing we can reference, probably, that we know for a fact doesn't exist. But will at some point, right? If he was still alive. So, yeah, fortune telling is impossible. Because why? The future doesn't exist yet. Does that mean that prediction is impossible? No. So what it's really saying is trying to use magic to force the future to be something when it hasn't yet formed is inherently wrong. And I would agree with that. You're trying to concretize something before it's been collapsed from superposition. It's immoral because it's denying other observers their opportunity to engage in it fairly. So there's reasoning behind things. It's not like I'm just blowing smoke out my ass. Okay, well, you say that, Lawnmower, but again, I don't agree with you, and you've not won your point. You've not won your point at all. You can't point to anything biblical that precludes what I'm doing. You're saying, as a general rule, my association with tarot is that it's non-Christian and has to do with the occult or whatever, and the people who dabble with it are walking the wrong path. Well, I'm telling you that your oversimplified understanding of it has led you down the wrong path here regarding me and my application of it. And do I think you say this isn't stuff Christians ought to be wasting their time on? Well, what's okay for me to waste my time on? After all, if it's a waste of time, then isn't it obviously an example of my execution of leisure and not some sort of produce, productive activity? If I were to agree that it's a waste of time, does that mean that I shouldn't do it? It makes Rachel happy, so it's not a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. You know?
It's entertaining.
Yeah, Rachel likes me to pull cards, and I usually enjoy it when I do.
Yeah, I like when you do too.
You'll notice
You're
it's
fun.
like, what is my frame of reference? I say, well, this first card is about your emotions, your intellect, your intuition. So that's not telling the future. That's sort of plain. Let me see what sort of universal metaphor I can link to these images and stuff that will probably resonate in some way with the person hearing it. It's basically like intuitive sleight of hand, you know? Now, is it possible to interpret it in a more magical way? Sure. But, okay, well, one more. I'm not compromising. There's no compromise there. I'm not compromising. I'm not giving up anything I want in order to make her happy. I'm enjoying something that she brings to the relationship that I probably would not, I would just sort of forget about if we weren't together, you know? Hey, I'm not any kind of psychologist, pseudo or otherwise, Cloud. Alright?
You have all licenses all the time.
I'm a philosopher. I'm a metaphysician. It's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologist? Why would I aspire so low? That was an any joke? I don't think so. I think it's an Effie joke, I guess I would say. When you want to see any jokes, look to Kyra's weird nonsense. And she's making weird jokes that they're just kind of arbitrary and random. Those are any jokes. You consider MBTI very important psychology? Well, it doesn't make me a psychologist. You haven't made a point about inherently compromising. You've just made a claim. In no way did you warrant that with an actual warrant that somehow I'm compromising it at all. You just made the claim. So that doesn't stand. You need to warrant it. How am I compromising? What am I compromising? I don't think I'm compromising anything. Who's Ryan Barnes? Your mom's Sancho? So, I mean, I think it's interesting, Lawnmower, that you've got this huge array of people along a spectrum of faith, right? I'm somebody who's difficult to put in a box. And you find my affect to be that of people who don't take it seriously. But if you listen to my words, you'll discover that I do. You see things that way I behave that you consider inconsistent with the symbols of one who's attached to Christianity, but you can't actually point to any behaviors that are meaningfully in contradiction to any of its precepts. And this is why it's important for you to be around me, because I'm showing you that the symbols of faith and the sort of certificates in life that people think meaningfully represent faith, they don't meaningfully represent it. And you can have a more complete understanding of a more nuanced God, you know. This style of judgment-based Christianity that you're bringing to the table, God is constantly rolling his eyes at you for it, frankly. Like, God, Jesus, Lawnmower. Why do I gotta have guys like Lawnmower advocating on my behalf? I really wish I could have a bunch of Erics. He's convincing in a way that Lawnmower will never be.
Boom!
I don't think. First of all, Lawnmower, I don't know if Rachel calls herself a Christian or not. You say she's not a Christian, but I've never really even asked her the question. I don't care. It's not relevant to anything. It's not being with it. We don't have different values. You can attain the same sort of basic application of. I mean, she's quite strictly moral, frankly.
Thank you. I like to
how how she got there, whether it's via Christianity or not, it's irrelevant to me. What religion would you call yourself, if any?
Me?
Yeah.
Christian.
See, she calls herself Christian too. Well, Cloud, we're about to get out of here for dinner anyway. I've been putting it off because I've been enjoying this back and forth with Lawnmower. The thing to note, though, Lawnmower, is I'm much more Christian than most people you're encountering around here, probably. I explicitly call myself that, and I talk about Christianity somewhat. It's not a central topic for me or whatever, but, you know. And if, in fact, you can't find common ground with a fellow Christian about Christianity, then who are you ever going to find common ground with? And how are you ever going to be engaged in what you might call fellowship in any meaningful sense? Cloud, Eric is not God himself. Eric is Christian. Okay, well, no, Lawnmower spits out the lukewarm, Eric. You presume too much to speak for God, right? You'll note that when I do, it's generally in response to you doing so, saying God rolls his eyes at your bullshit. But note that one of us is judging the other one's relationship with God against his own strict metric and insisting that I mean, that is true, Lawnmower. You are far from perfect. But, you know, I would like to think that someday I'd be a good slab. You know, it's like a slab director or something. God probably has a team of slab directors, people who are able to kind of indicate whether or not a person is going to ultimately be able to push against a slab and get somewhere or not. I think it'd be fair judge in that process. If I were going to ask for a job in the afterlife, that would be one I'd like God to give me, possibly. I might think I'm qualified for it. I have to see really what it entails. But, you know, based on my current understanding of how the slabs work, I would anticipate that I would be qualified for it. I'm sorry we're taking such a long time to leave, baby.
It's alright, babe.
I do seek after holiness. Your interpretation of what that means is different than mine, but it doesn't. Neither of us necessarily has to deviate from the precepts. Okay, you've not pointed to any way in which I do. By the way, you know, you've just you look. I mean, I think the best way that I am seeking after holiness is to engage in a genuine, safe-hearted, you know, it's like the Bible tells you to fear God, but if you do fear God enough, then you should feel safe-hearted. You know, you should feel like it's not you're not dealing with a very fussy librarian who's every time you whisper too loud they go. You know, it's like, it's stupid. Michael Pierce denoted the perception axis SDNI as contextual and the judgment axis FITE as contextual. NE SI is universal and TI FE is universal. Right, because he assumes that because SE and NI are on the same axis, they must both be in the same category. Okay. The fact is, the knowledge functions, you've got SE and SI are the correlates, you know, as far as action and knowledge in terms of being on the same side of the thing. Namely, they are, I guess you'd say, contextual, and NI are universal. He's right about TIFE, and he's right about FITE. It's basically, he's saying what I'm saying, sort of, but he's missing the fact that the four metaphysical functions are NE, NI, FE, and TI, and the four physical are SE, SI, FI, and TE. So, you know, I wish, it's like, okay, what would be great is to find some way to socially that's socially acceptable, or that would be FE appropriate to explain this to him, so that he can get it right too, and we can be on the same page, without without winning. So because you're okay. So why is FI physical? Okay, well, what I mean by physical or metaphysical is better said communicative or experiential is another way of saying it. Okay, so FI would be experiential fundamentally in its native home. FI is natively an experiential function experienced in real time, physically within the body, and it's the experience that's usually converted from metaphysical ideas. So if I hear on the phone that my dog has died, I've converted metaphysically on the map the life of my dog from alive to dead, and I will feel a lot of emotion in my physical being experientially. Okay? Now, note that status change in my head is not going to be experienced nearly as much. I might go back to it periodically for a while and go, oh, she really is dead. She really is dead. Wow, she's really dead. But it's not going to be experienced in real time the way that the physical sadness will. So we can further show how it's physical in the sense that it's experiential, because even when in other words, it's not linked to external realities necessarily. If you later hear that, you later get home and you realize your dog's fine, it was somebody else's dog that they mistaken for your dog, then the status changes in your head, and you feel not as you felt before you learned the news, but a whole different set of feelings, like relief and and all that kind of stuff, right? Those are another set of physical experiential feelings. But you'll additionally have sort of an FI understanding, I guess, that bridges time, which says, okay, now I'm understanding how it will feel when when my dog does eventually die for real, right? You'll have an informed understanding of your value of the dog, and these things exist metaphysically more. In other words, out of their native aspect. So FI is experiential, not communicative, because in its native aspect, it is experienced in real time and in the body. It has, however, non-native aspect, which is communicative, and that aspect operates across time in the fashion indicated by turning states of emotion into metaphysical objects that you can link to each other in meaningful ways, such as, well, since I just experienced what it was like to have my dog die, I know now what it will feel like when she actually does die, is some sort of, I guess, cross-time FI stuff. I repeated it all, tried to summarize it, because I just wanted to clarify again, write it home. Not to be redundant unnecessarily. Pretty good answer to the question, huh, Cloud? Pretty convincing. Okay, it's time for me to go. Even the most perfect human is far from perfect. True that. True that. You know, it's like, even if you're perfect on the negative end, which is almost possible to be, not quite, but almost, then you're just ready to tackle the positive moral end, you know, which is a much more challenging one. All right, thanks for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do forget to eat plenty of cheese, eat twice as much cheese next time. Thanks again to Lightbulb for the chat revenue. I really appreciate it. That's very nice of you. She gave me $10.
Thank you.
Yeah, she gives $10.